At the halfway mark of the summer season, the heat continues to build up as MNR's best take on the mystical 1.5 miler in Joliet, Illinois, known for turning up the temperature. Live from the virtual Chicagoland Speedway, we bring you the second race of the Gen 4 Tour in the Monday Night Racing Summer Series presented by Mach10 Digital and the Bryant Shocks Technology 200. Welcome to our coverage on Podium Esports. We're alongside Darren Denman in the booth. My name is Kenneth Bueno. Ryan Bowers, our producer all night long. He's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Well, Darren, it's like putting a cut card in the middle of the deck. We're at the halfway mark of this MNR summer season, and we're bringing it back to Gen 4 action this time at a track that has not been active in NASCAR series for a while, but in iRacing lives on forever. This track is tough to drive, and with these Gen 4 cars, so much power beneath the hood, and fresh off of a super speedway race at Atlanta, we're going to be in for a show, no doubt.
Yeah, absolutely, Ken. This is going to be a great show again tonight. We've had great racing all summer long throughout this summer series, and we are now back in the land of slide job. So it's going to be a heck of a race tonight as those guys slide their way through the corners, and who knows, we might see a heck of a finish, just like the slide job finish of a couple years ago here on MNR tonight.
Well, who can forget that Dale Jr. call from 2018, that battle between Kyle Busch and Kyle Larson. But this race, Chicagoland Speedway, going to be the second race of the Gen 4 Tour. We were first here with the Gen 4 cars June 26th at Charlotte Motor Speedway, so it has been a couple of weeks since we've seen drivers take the track with these high horsepower cars. We had a stellar finish at Atlanta just 1 week prior on July 10th, where Corey Heim was able to get his first Summer Series win. Qualifying has just begun, and here is the reporter for Behind the Wall Media, Steve Alfont, driver of the number 54 machine. So he'll be the first on deck to start our qualifying effort. Darren, and it looks like out of turn 2, he did complete the lap, so he's going to be slowing down that lap at a 30.864, setting the tone for the rest of the field.
Yeah, and we've been watching qualifying the last couple of weeks, Kenneth, and it's really impressive to see these guys and how tight the qualifying times are. I think last week we were in a tenth or two of each other across 34, 35 cars. So really incredible talent behind the wheel, even in qualifying for these guys. Hopefully we'll see that here tonight as we're going to have a handful of cars lining up here over the next half an hour or so on MNR.
We certainly will, and we're getting the drivers that were at the bottom end of practice. So this is the qualifying format. If you haven't watched any of the races in the Monday Night Racing Summer Series, well, the league admins wanted to have a little bit of fun with the qualifying format, and so this is how it's all set. It's a one-lap qualifying time, so you do not have any more laps if you mess the first one up, and it is set by reverse speed of practice. So if you're at the top of the board in practice, you're going to be the last driver in qualifying. And then if you are the last driver in practice, then you'll be the first one to go out in qualifying. This is the second driver to come out. This is Jason Grafton, driver of the 16-9, Darren. And we were talking with our social media manager, Cam Robinson, who knows him very well. Jason, a part of the iRacing Lemons League, and has a lot of references to that on his number 69. I'd say Dodge Avenger / Impala this evening as he goes for turn 1.
Yeah, it's a hybrid. We're going to call this car a hybrid, but for all the reasons you're not thinking. It's got the Dodge up front. It's got maybe the Chevy out back. It's got the Pepsi Bismol all over it. Fun-looking car, and Jason's here tonight to have some fun on Monday Night Racing as he's going to be completing his lap coming up here in just a second or two. And as we talked about, a little bit slow in practice, but again, with qualifying being so tight, it just takes a tenth or two to step up to the pole as Jason's going to slot in slowest right now, a second behind Steve, who is on the pole, provisional pole this time through 2 qualifiers. Bailey Turner coming up though, and Bailey Turner has been fast all season long. Let's see what he can do in the 5 tonight. Another great looking scheme for him with Lipton on the side this evening.
And the driver from McKinleyville, California, comes out of turn 4, and this will be his first and only qualifying time. He performed rather well with the Gen 4 cars in the first race at Charlotte Motor Speedway, and still looking for his first MNR win. He's been close a couple of times in the Pro Series a couple of months ago, and of course in the Summer Series this year. But Turner with the wheel out of turn 4, just trying to keep it as straight as possible, but it's hard to with the amount of power you've got.
Absolutely.
Beneath this Gen 4 car, and how slick this track is. And you look in history in MNR, Darren, of Chicagoland Speedway as Bailey Turner comes out at turn 4. We'll across the line for what will be on the docket 31.017. So not as quick as Steve Alfont. He'll line up second. Is that last time we were here at Chicagoland, it was this similar type of track condition, right? We saw the heat bearing down on the speedway, super hot track temperatures right up in the 120-degree area. Tonight, no different, bringing that challenge in from about a season ago.
Man, and you see the challenge that this is, Kenneth. Like, these guys are turning right to go left as, again, Joseph Gregory walks in sideways coming out of 2 down the backstretch. These cars are a handful already, and we are just in qualifying trim trying to tame 1 lap here at Chicagoland. It's going to be a heck of a show later tonight when we get all these guys out on the track and they're dancing around each other, going right to go left and keep these things straight.
Well, how about the scheme for Joseph Gregory? I love the Old Town look of this number 20 car. He puts in his time, 31.350. So that's going to be good enough for third. As here comes the number 99 for Crypto Autosport, Mark Rubilis. In his Chevrolet, he gets into turn 1. Rubilis has had somewhat of an up-and-down season, 26th place at Atlanta Motor Speedway just 1 week ago, so he's going to look to rebound with these cars that are way harder to drive than those next gens. But obviously, you look at super speedway racing, how chaotic that is, Darren, and talk about the rhythm as well. How interesting is that for the drivers, and how much of a change they have to make fundamentally between having a super speedway race 1 week and then the next week you're tire saving with 900 horsepower.
And I mean, you do have to do it as we watch Mark Rubilis spin out after he completes his qualifying lap, lining up second at this point with a 30.8 on the field as Landon Polinsky takes the field. We had talked, though, a couple weeks ago, or actually last week, Kenneth, with the every other week setup that we have here on MNR and MNR's Summer Series. And then with the off week for the 4th of July, it's been 3 weeks since these guys have been in the car as Landon Polinsky's in the wall, coming to the line, so the lap will be negated. Tough break for him there, though, as he does slap the wall coming to the line to complete his qualifying lap.
And you look at Polinsky there with the right side damage, so that lap time will not count. Looks like the next driver that is going to be on the docket, that is the number 49 of Art Reimer, one of the drivers who we haven't seen in a little bit. Since the first Gen 4 race at Charlotte Motor Speedway, he was not a part of that Super Speedway series, so he was not there at Atlanta just last Monday night. And he is one of those drivers, I believe, that is only a part of the Gen 4 series. So as these drivers signed up for the Summer Series, a lot of them chose which series they would like to run. A majority chose both series, Denman, but Art Reimer's one of those guys who did not want to bother with the super speedway racing. He's only here for the Gen 4 high horsepower action. He goes into turn 1 for his first lap.
And I mean, to each his own, right? It's like he's wheeling an old-looking an Intrepid, or maybe that's even a Charger, but a Dodge for Art Reimer tonight. Great-looking car for him. That considered, the super speedway races are such a crapshoot, right? So if you're going to take some time and really dedicate yourself and maybe hone your skills in on a certain skill set, the intermediate could be a better bet for you as Art Reimer completes his lap at a 30.9. Going to line up third in provisional qualifying at this point.
A pretty decent time for the 49 of Art Reimer, as here is driver of the number 57, Ray Richard, in his car. Going to go on the outside of turns 3 and 4. And this is going to be very different from Charlotte Motor Speedway, because this Chicagoland Speedway is built very different. You look at the 18 degrees of banking in the corners. That's less than the 24 that you see the track over in Concord, North Carolina. And you also have that big trial bowl with the big apron on the bottom. And you also have a lot more bumps there. And Charlotte Motor Speedway is smooth in comparison compared to this track, because this one will beat you up no matter what lane you're in.
Absolutely, and we talked to Ray 3 weeks ago when we were in Charlotte. He had a pretty solid run going, got caught up into a little bit of late drama as he's going to swing down low and complete his qualifying lap. Another 30.9 for him, 30.9 and some change, lining up third now in provisional qualifying. So fairly solid lap for him. But again, it's fun to see Steve Alfont still out front. He was the first car out. He's leading the pack through 9 qualifiers so far, as Matt Kent is taking the field. And what a great looking car. The old Singular Wireless, Jeff Burton, Robbie Gordon throwback. Great looking car. And Matt Kent looking for a great lap here in qualifying.
You know, there's one thing that the Gen 4 does, it brings back memories, because you can put those old-time NASCAR schemes on it, and it looks phenomenal. A bit of loose out of turn 4 for Matthew Kent on his lap. And as he crosses the start-finish line, that will put him 6th, so not a bad qualifying time at all. 31.033 brings the 31 car of Kent to the top 10. Here's Joshua Slade, the number 01 machine. Next up as he comes to the start-finish line, Josh Slade out of Ashland, Virginia, is a co-founder of Behind the Wall Media and heading for turn 1 for the first time. You can look on the in-car camera, Darren, how smooth he's having to keep that wheel just to prevent it from sliding. And that also couples with the application of the throttle. You don't want to mash it coming out of the corner. You want to be really smooth in your throttle application, because if not, this car is going to unravel. You see him in turns 3 and 4, trying to get to the bottom of those bumps, get him up the racetrack, and out of 4, not close to the outside wall, crossing the line at the bottom of the apron. That lap will put him, looks like, right behind Matthew Kent, 31.076.
And it looked like a very clean lap for him, but what a great shot from inside the cars. Now we go on board with Rocky Hartpence, but look at how these guys work these wheels. Like, this is not your NASCAR 96. This isn't the throwback PlayStation NASCAR 98. Like, these guys are really doing serious work, really have a talent and a feel for these sims, as it looks like Rocky Hartpence in a great looking number 71 heading down the backstretch here on his qualifying run. But again, it just goes back to the skill that these guys have and the dedication that they put into their craft here for Monday Night Racing.
It's certainly true. And a lot of these guys put in many laps to make sure that they are good to go by the time race time is concerned. Rocky Hartpence with a really clean lap, 31 flat all across the board. That puts him 5th. So Hartpence looking to get a good finish. Remember, he ran well at Charlotte Motor Speedway to kick off the Gen 4 series. So there's a lot of promise behind the 71. We'll see exactly what he can do. Now, Matt Stolnick, on the other end, Darren Denman, has been one of the best comeback drivers throughout this season, and that not only is concerned with the Gen 4 cars, with the Super Speedway cars, he can do the very same. He ended up finishing 4th at Atlanta last week. Stolnick is going to hope that his qualifying effort gets a little better as he comes out at turn 4, but even if he starts from the back, I don't think you can doubt him at all.
He started shotgun on the field last week. He's going to be doing much better here with a 30.9. He started shotgun on the field last week, marched to the front, got shuffled back, got caught up in a crash, still ended up with a great run. So Matt Stolnick's going to be a great one to watch tonight. Maybe a safe bet with that Tipico Sportsbook sponsorship, as he's going to line up 2nd here in provisional qualifying. As Leighton Sabile, I know we were talking about him earlier in our little meeting. He is 1-0 to hang it out, and he's got it sideways coming out of 2, coming down the backstretch. Wheelman Leighton Sabile in the 25.
And somehow he kept it off the outside wall. Leighton Sabile, the defending winner here at Chicagoland. Of course, they ran different cars, and that was with the NASCAR trucks back in Season 6 on February 6th. And really loose out of turn 4, Sabile crosses the line. Can loose be fast? It sure is. 30.907. Wow. And that puts him right behind Steve Alfont. Interestingly enough, no one has been able to best the time set down by the 54, but Leighton Sabile with a great qualifying time.
As dirty as that lap looked for Sabile, sideways coming out of 2, washing up through 3 and 4, to a little bit sideways coming to the line. Still able to line up 2nd at this point. So Sabile definitely, as we just talked about, going to be one to watch tonight. If he can get that thing dialed in just a little bit better, he is absolutely going to be a threat for the checkers, as now we're watching Davey Hazard in the 75. He gets a little bit sideways as he comes to the line in his Toyota Camry. He'll clock in with a 30.912. That'll again put him in the top 5 of provisional qualifying, 3rd right now on the field.
We're starting to see more drivers poke into the top 5 on qualifying, and we should expect that to stay the course by the time we get to the drivers who are fastest in practice. Here is Gary Sexton, and Darren, you have a great story about his setup, and he's been out in Pennsylvania. He's been all over the place.
I've got a vested interest in Gary tonight. He called me up. He's visiting his mom only about an hour away from me. He said, I need a wheel. I didn't travel with it. Can I borrow yours? I said, absolutely. He showed up. I was missing a cord. So Gary had to rewire my setup to fit onto his computer at his mom's house right now, and he's qualifying here at Chicagoland. It's a great story. I love how these things always work out. As Gary with a fast lap, 2nd on the field right now with a 30.8, and my steering wheel rewired just for tonight's action. You gotta love it.
I feel like you're probably a little more proud of your setup.
Absolutely.
I mean, Sexton, not even the usual setup, but he puts in a time good enough for P2, a 30.868. I mean, Sexton just shows you how much talent he has behind the wheel in sim. Now, here is Ronnie Osmer, driver of the number 55 car, has the Dude Wipes colors, of course, on his Chevrolet Impala. coming out of turn 2. We'll get on that curve back straightaway, which is a feature that is different here at Chicagoland from a lot of other 1.5-mile circuits. You're not driving straight on the backstretch. You're going slightly to the left, and that either could help or hurt the way you're arcing the car into turn 3 or even coming out of turn 2 as Ronnie Osmer comes to the line. That's the fastest time we've seen by far. Finally topples Steve Alfont with a 30.858.
Nice lap for Ronnie Osmer. He was dancing all over the place, but he was able to get fast time as Brandon Brown now coming down to complete his qualifying round. Now, I guess he's going to take the green on his qualifying run, correct? Yes. Just taking the green goes Brandon Brown, but a great run by Ronnie Osmer. And again, just a sideways goes Brandon Brown. Boy, these things are a handful, Kenneth.
Yeah, they've been all over the place, and I figured tonight might just be a little more difficult with the track temp and how little grip there is out there. And you see Brandon Brown, a different line in 3 and 4, using the middle. We've seen some of those guys go all the way down to that white line, but with the bumps that you find on the racetrack, especially at that part of the track, as Brandon Brown puts in a 30.939, that will put him 8th. Here at Chicagoland, you can run the middle and still be relatively fast just because of the way you have to drive this car and how smooth you're going to be on the throttle and on the wheel. The 79 of Alex Monteferrante with a rather tough start coming out of turn 4, crossing the line.
Not a great start to that lap at all for Alex, and even now he's in 1 and 2 up pretty high. You know, I always say this lap isn't going to look that great, but they always end up going faster after I say that. So I'm going to keep my mouth shut on how well this lap is looking for Alex as he goes through 3 and 4. He is up fairly high though on the track. Saw it at the wheel a little bit loose right there, catches it, and he's going to be able to come to the line and clock in with a time. He's going to get a time of 31.01, sets him outside of the top 10 in 14th or 13th on the field at this point.
And probably some concerns that Monteferrante was not going to be able to put in a time just because he hit the wall coming out of turn 4 on the outlap, but luckily iRacing registers that time and he's going to be put in so far in the top 15. Here is league owner Ford Martin in the 07 Mach10 Digital Chevrolet, the spotter for Haley Deegan for the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. Very loose going into turn 3. We've seen out of the corners these cars step out, but into the corners, not so much. That 07 has a tidy line at a turn 4, crossing the line at the bottom of the apron, and that time, as it clocks in, is now the quick time, 30.810.
Again, though, we're seeing the cream rise to the top, but we're not seeing that much difference. We're within the hundredths of seconds within the top 4, 5 at this point. 30.8 and change for all the guys right now, and now we're getting into the heavy hitters. Those fast practicers are now on track as DJ Cummings big slide and wiggle out of him down the backstretch, and boy, that turn 2 transition is going to come into play tonight, Kenneth.
And it's really tough, and we've seen a couple of drivers already in single car qualifying get caught up with that transition to the backstretch. Cummings crosses the line. That's a 31.053. Rather surprising out of the eNASCAR Ford. He was one of those, Darren, that was tossing and turning with all of the other drivers around him in practice for the top spot. And so Cummings puts in a time good enough for 16th, as here is Michael Fisher in the number 30 next up.
As the 30 takes to the line, and again, we're talking about these guys getting into the the faster practicers at this point. So we're looking for some jump ups onto the board. Still waiting for the Colin Ferns of the world and the Cabry brothers yet to come. So if you're watching for them, stay tuned. Michael Fisher on track right now. He is actually holding a fairly clean line at this point. Really consistent wheel there for Fisher as he drops down to clock in with a 30.8, again a 30.86, and we are just thousandths of a second now. 6,000ths of a second he falls behind Ford Martin to line up second.
Man, Michael Fisher has been on it in qualifying. Remember last week at Atlanta where he held the pole for a little while before finally being beaten? He came home inside what appeared to be, I believe it was around the top 15 or so last week at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Or rather, never mind, it was a 22nd place finish, but it was a great top 10 run all night long. As here is Cole Cabry in the 51, clocked in 29th last week at Atlanta, so looking for a little bit of a rebound tonight. The 51 come out of turn 4, It looks like as he crosses the start-finish line, that time will be the top spot. 30.726, Darren, the only one we've seen so far break the 30.7 bracket.
It's those fast, black, clean, stickerless race cars that get it all the time. And Cole Cabry on the pole at this point, but if I had to make a pick for tonight, other than Gary, just because he's driving my wheel, I would put money on Mario Miranda. Ran second last week as the broadcaster's jinx comes into play, and he's sideways on the backstretch, able to keep it off the wall, but he is going to be shotgun on the field is Mario Miranda. And of course, as soon as I say this guy is going to be my pick after a second place run last week, he's not even going to get a clean lap in for qualifying.
Man, the commentator's jinx always strikes when you least expect it. As soon as you talk up a driver, something happens. So tough for Miranda. He's not going to have a qualifying time. Here is Colin Fern for FRS Racing. Driver the number 96. He crosses the line for his out lap, so this is going to be his official first lap. It looks like they have queued Chase Cabry to get onto the track. Fern had the top spot in practice a little earlier on tonight, so he's been relatively fast and is also a previous winner at an old and abrasive 1.5-mile track. If you turn your attention over to Atlanta Motor Speedway a little while ago in the MNR Pro Series, where he won with the next-gen cars, that was a stellar one to get him into the championship for back in season number 5. Fern still looking for his first win of the Summer Series in 2023, and this time is second place behind Cole Cabry, 30.765, as the other Cabry, Chase Cabry, comes in for his lap.
And a great run there from Colin Fern. If you're just tuning in for the first time tonight, he is a great one to watch, and starting at the front of the field, he's absolutely going to be a threat, as is really all of these qualifiers from here on out. To the cream of the crop at this point, as we see Chase Cabry heading down the backstretch. He's always a player in these events, and he's been fast in qualifying. He's been fast in the races all summer season long. Pretty line right now for Chase Cabry coming out of 4.
And Chase Cabry had a shot at the win at the Gen 4 race at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Remember that strategy battle between himself
and 30.6. He's at the top.
Oh, beautiful lap by Chase Cabry. 30.682. And not sure if anyone can get past that, but there are still a couple of more drivers remaining. Here's Christopher Tate, who seemingly showed up out of nowhere in practice and led the board for a little while. Development driver for 3F Racing, a little loose at a turn 2. And I believe he almost got the outside wall. Not sure if that will invalidate his lap. But Christopher Tate trying to be the main driver behind 3F Racing. Still yearning to be NASCAR's first ever German-owned Cup Series team. And the 42 of Tate will come out of 4, almost grazing that outside wall. Can he beat Chase Cabry's lap? So far, the answer is no. 30.950, so a little slower on that endeavor. Next driver up, the man who's been almost unstoppable in the MNR Summer Series, Darren, James Bickford.
Yeah, he's got 2 out of 3 so far. He finally lost one last week, right? So James Bickford looking to maybe rebound. Should we even call it a rebound when he had such a great finish last week as well? But Bickford on the track and looking to make it 3 for 4 here tonight at Chicagoland.
Driver out of Napa, California. Coming out turn 4 onto the triable, so he will be on his official lap. They are queuing Nick Olson to go right behind the great Esports Chevrolet, who also had a standout effort at Charlotte Motor Speedway, the first Gen 4 race of the Monday Night Racing Summer Series presented by Mach10 Digital. But that race ended up turning to James Bickford's hands in the form of strategy, saving fuel all the way to the line. We're not sure if tonight's going to be in the same vein as Charlotte. It's probably going to be more about tire management than fuel conservation. And Bickford comes across the line. That is 30.931, so that will put him smack dab in the middle of the field at around P12. As here's Grit Esports' Nick Olson on the board.
Boy, I thought we were going to have a real shootout here with the Cabry boys for the pole, but after they both laid down blistering fast laps, no one's really come close. Let's see if Olson can do it, who had, just got caught up in a couple situations last week at Atlanta, looking for a little redemption here in that 24. Beautiful-looking car for him, as we always see with that Grit Esports sponsorship on the side. Olson walking just a little bit sideways, coming out of 4, ducks it down low at the line, and he is going to clock in with a 31.065. Not the best lap for him at all, and that's putting it bluntly. He's way down in the 20s, 23rd right now at this point, as Presley Soar on the track And we got a lot to talk about with Presley tonight. He's been having some issues with connectivity, and we were hoping he'd be here tonight because what a car for him tonight, Kevin. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, this is a colored number 98 scheme done by Macy and Addie of the Golay Center Super Summer Fun Program. It's over at the Golay Community Center in Cambridge City, Indiana, the hometown of Presley Soar. He puts in a 30.882, but he talked to the kids about his real-life endeavors for racing and his virtual accomplishments, and had the chance to have all the kids color their own number 98 paint scheme. They printed out these papers that had the car outlined, said Presley Soar on it. All the kids got creative, and then it was chosen by himself and all of the counselors there at the Golay Community Center in Cambridge City. Decided on this colored paint scheme, so really cool, where Presley Soar is not only actively engaging in his community, but with the scheme that he's bearing tonight in MNR.
I love it. I love what Presley is doing. I met him last summer at the end of the season down at the Charlotte Esports Center, and just a cool kid. He's out in the community. You know, it's a virtual racing, right? But he's out in the community actually meeting these folks and engaging, and it's just great to see him having the success and the involvement that he has across the board. And really, Monday Night Racing has been such a catalyst for him to gain some footing within the community. So great for him, great for Presley. Hopefully we'll see that car up front later on this evening.
Yeah, it's been awesome to see what Presley Sora has done in the little time that he's had in Monday Night Racing. Season 5 champion, has gone very close to winning another championship. He's out racing in real life now. He's been able to progress so much throughout his career, and it's been awesome to see. He's only 19 years old, still a relatively young kid. He puts in his time for P9, 30.882. And let's look back there at the Monday Night Racing Summer Series schedule. Again, I mentioned it's sort of like putting the cut card in the middle of the deck. We're halfway through, 2 races done and dusted for the Super Speedway Series. Now going to be 2 races done and dusted for the Gen 4 schedule. But tonight, the only time we'll see Chicagoland in the middle of the schedule before we head over to Auto Club.
Yeah, and I mean, just looking next week, the thing about the summer series that I have been looking at all summer long is the just quality of racetracks and the cars that we have lined up on them. Great racing tonight at Chicagoland, and then Talladega next week. Auto Club coming up in 2 weeks, and just the season keeps going and going. Just gotta love what the guys at Mach10 Digital and MNR have set up for us this summer.
It's been awesome to see the diversity in schedule. That's something that you accustomed to in MNR racing, just the diversity that they have between cars and tracks. Speaking of tracks, tonight we raced at Chicagoland Speedway, a little far off from main downtown Chicago, where the NASCAR Cup Series just got done racing a couple of weeks ago. But this track in Joliet, Illinois, Darren, and this one, although it's not raced in NASCAR competition anymore, it is still a really fun track that's living on in the iRacing world.
A fun track. It came online for the Cup Series in 2001. It really got caught up in like that whole cookie cutter craze that everybody talks about. It drives just about different than all of them, though. 1.5 miles long, 4 turns, obviously, as we are accustomed to expect from a D-shaped oval. Banking at 18 degrees in the corner, and we're looking at a 45-mile-an-hour pit road speed, and you know those guys are going to have to come down and obey by that pit road speed tonight. Looking at a couple of pit stops tonight to get the boys to 200 laps.
And with the fact that this is also a 1.5 miler, much like Atlanta Motor Speedway last week, we are going to go by roughly the same structure. We go about 130 laps or 2 hours, depending on which one comes first. So we haven't seen the 2-hour time limit be implemented yet. We've been able to go all laps completed so far this year. We go just about 200 miles, 312 kilometers. There are no fast repairs given to the drivers. 3 green-white checkered attempts if we need them to extend this race past scheduled distance, as we see drivers take the start-finish line behind the iRacing official pace truck. Let's bring you tonight's starting lineup of the Bryant Shocks Technology 200. Chase Cabry is with his brother, Cole Cabry. The Cabrys lining up row number 1 as Chase Cabry puts in a 30.682 to lead the field to the green flag. Colin Fern in the number 96 will be on the inside of row number 2. He is joined by league owner Ford Martin with a great qualifying time to put him in P4. Michael Fisher in the 30 car continues his qualifying success. He rolls off from 5th place. Ronnie Osborne, the 55, will be alongside him in row number 3. That's position number 6. Steve Alfont for Behind the Wall Media had the fastest lap in qualifying for a long time until it was finally beaten. He will start in 7th. Gary Sexton on that the wired up setup with Darren DeVille, who's going to be in PA from row number 4. Presley Sora with the Gole Community Center Super Sun Summer Program car, he's going to be starting 9th. Lane Sabile, the defending winner here at Chicagoland. He will be rounding out the top 10, Darren.
And in P11, Davey has a great qualifying run for the 75 with a 30.911 alongside Matt Stallback. Doesn't have to start in the back tonight. In 12, James Bickford, he's never a great qualifier. He's going to line up 13th tonight alongside Mark Revealis in the 99. Back in row number 8, Brandon Brown with a 30.939 starting 15th. And Art Reimer in the 49 in 16th. Back in row 9. Fast in practice, Christopher Tate, not a great qualifying run, rolls off as 17th, alongside our buddy Ray Richer in the 57, starting P18. And back in row number 10, Rocky Hartpence in that beautiful pink number 71, alongside one of our consistent contenders, Bailey Turner in the 5, rounding out the top 20.
Back in 21st is the number 79 of Alex Monteferrante as he rolls off in the inside of row number 11. Matthew Ken in the 31 on his outside in 22nd starting spot. DJ Cummings has a lot of work to do from 23rd. He is joined by Nick Olson. Surprising qualifying time. We thought he would be further up to the field. He's going to have a journey starting from row number 12. Joshua Slade in the 01 is 25th. Joseph Gregory is back in 26th place. And 27th goes to Landon Polinsky in the 26 car. Jason Grafton, his first ever MNR Summer Series start. He begins from 28th. And Mario Miranda had his lap invalidated after striking the outside wall out of turn 2. He rolls off dead last in 29th position. Clouds are covering the Chicagoland Speedway, but we cannot ignore the track temperature. It is sweltering here at 104 degrees. Air temp at 89 degrees Fahrenheit, winds to the north at about 2 miles an hour as we go 133 laps. This will be a relatively good strategy race. Tire conservation will be at an all-time high, and the heat will be turned up to the maximum. The K-Breeze on row number 1 lead us to the green flag. We're underway from Chicagoland for the Bryant Shocks Technology 200.
Let's watch them as they fan out down into the 1 as the K-Breeze goes side by side on that first wrap. It looks like Colin Fern's going to try to break up the K-Breeze boys up front. Down low and sniffing the lead goes Colin Fern. Down that not back straight. It's a back turn. I don't know what we're going to call it tonight, but we're going to have fun watching them race down the back straightaway here at Chicagoland.
That backstretch curve as they come into turns 3 and 4 for the first time. Car on the wall and Steve Alfump, he's able to gather back up. We saw 3 wide for a moment. Lane Sabile is trying to not waste any time on the jump of this race. One of the only guys using the 3rd lane here in turns 1 and 2, whipping the car sideways, but that gets in the run on the backstretch. He's going to get to the outside of Cole Cabrey. Now to Colin Fern for second.
And I'm excited to watch Colin Fern. He is one of the most aggressive drivers in the sport, and if the Cabrey boys lined up first and second, it doesn't matter to him. He's trying to break that up, but now Lane Sabile on the high side with a nice run.
And Lane Sabile looking to charge on Chase Cabrey, so he's using his Goodyear Eagles for now. Not sure if that's going to bite him in the back later in this race if we stay green, but Sabile is yearning for some track position early, side by side, back through the latter half of the top 10. Michael Fisher, Ronnie Osmer going at it for position. They've got Presley Sora right behind, creeping in that number 98 Chevrolet. They've got Ford Martin, or rather Toyota Camry, that's Ford Martin in the Chevrolet on the inside. Fisher gets the outside wall, and here's a look from James Bickford, just on the outskirts of this battle in 9th.
I know we're watching the battle up front, Kenneth, but I do want to call attention early on to this. Mario Miranda did not have the best qualifying run. He was the one that had his time negated and started shotgun on the field. He's already marching up through the field, having passed 7 callers already in the first 4 or 5 laps. So let's watch Mario go through the field. Keep some notes on him tonight. We know he's fast. We know he's a talent behind the wheel. We spoke to him after the race last week. He's looking for respect here on Monday Night Racing. I think he earned some last week, and man, starting shotgun on the field tonight, he might just earn a bunch more as he marches up through these regulars.
And he's also looking for redemption, Darren, because if you remember what happened at Charlotte Motor Speedway, he was running up front and then got hit from the back from Corey Heim, and his machine sent him around, flipped him over, and that was race over for driver number 89. So Miranda is looking for not only a cleaner race tonight from Chicagoland, but one where he can capitalize on the speed that he has behind the wheel. Qualifying was a little bit of a tough outing with the way he hit that outside wall and validated the time, but so far progress is moving for Miranda. He is up to the top 20. This battle continues inside the top 10, and they have not been able to settle it, Darren. Ford Martin leading this group of about 4 or 5 cars. James Bickford on the inside of Cole Cabry. He dives underneath Ford Martin for the 5th spot. As Michael Fisher up ahead, he goes at it with Colin Fern.
Just great racing throughout the field. You always, for me, I come into this and I'm like, oh, the guys are just going to play some games tonight. No, like this is really good quality racing that we're watching out of these guys as we're now on board with Gary Sexton, currently running 11th on the field. And you can just watch these guys go through the corner. They just dancing these cars around on this old Chicagoland asphalt and doing just great work through the first 7 8 laps of this contest. But just fantastic racing. It makes you wonder as we get a caution on the field. I'll get back to that point here in a little bit. As Tate is in the wall, a good night goes from bad to worse for him. Fast in practice and now in the wall early on. Kenneth, let's see what happened.
And this is the 42 Christopher Tate. We saw him at the top of the board in practice, like you said. Been running rather well. He's on the inside here on the backstretch curve. It's the 57 of Ray Richard that starts this by getting into the outside wall. And one thing about these Gen 4 cars, Darren, that is worthy of note is that it has the same build as the Arca Menard Chevrolet that's on the iRacing service, and with the body, it's sort of a twisted sister body, so you don't have exactly symmetrical bodies like you do on the next gen car. So here's a look from Tate as 57 gets down on the racetrack right there under the 42, hard into the outside wall. Not sure if that's going to end Tate's night from Chicagoland, but with the way these cars are built, symmetrically, or I guess asymmetrically, if you get into that outside wall, it's going to suck you in. You're going to be tough. It's going to be really tough to get out of the outside wall. And so for Ray Richard, he was dealing with that the entire length of the back straightaway. As here's a look from Jason Grafton. Nice job on the avoidance.
It looks like he got into the wall just a little bit. We know he's used to racing lemons, so a little dent in the car is probably not going to slow him down too much. Has 9 laps into the race. It looks like there's a handful of takers on pit road. Guys at the back of the pack to include Mark Rubiles and those involved in the incident. Looked like Nick Olson I also saw coming in as well. So a handful of drivers on pit road, maybe playing a little bit of strategy early here in this 200-miler from Chicagoland.
Yeah, many of those looking for damage repair, most notably Ray Richard, Christopher Tate. But for Nick Olson, that's a 5.5-second stop, so it looks like just going to top off on fuel and extend his fuel mileage just a little bit. And that was a big component of the last Gen 4 race at Charlotte Motor Speedway. We had James Bickford and Chase Cabry having to save all the way to the start-finish line to end the race. James Bickford was basically on fumes by the time he got to the checkered flag. That was a big part of the race, and looks like we're seeing a mirror image of Charlotte, Darren. No, because you're looking like, it looks like early cautions at this point, but a lot of green flag racing in between.
Yeah, and we kept it fairly clean throughout like those first handful of laps. Probably we'll expect that going through. It's going to be interesting though, Kenneth, to see how when the tire wear and the fuel loads get light in the back of these things, if the guys are able to hold on. Really interesting race last week. Honestly, all the races have been interesting. When we were at Charlotte a couple weeks ago, it was a fantastic race with some great racing throughout. Hopefully we see that here tonight, and maybe we'll not run out everybody on fumes at the end of this race, but that's also something we got to play into the cards tonight, is fuel mileage, tire wear. That all comes into a 200-mile race here at Chicagoland.
It does, and when you extend this race by 3 laps, it's 133 versus the 130 that, let's say, we saw at Atlanta last week. There is going to be somewhat of a different approach to this race, and given the fact that it is an odd number lap count. You're not looking at 130, 135, and maybe 140. You're at 133. It's a rather odd distance for this race. Chase Cabry and Leighton Sabile will bring up row number 1 on this restart, lap number 11 of 133. We saw Leighton Sabile pick up a lot of ground since the drop of green. He was +8 on the opening 9 laps, and also another big mover, Mario Miranda. We talked about him starting shotgun in the field. He is now up to 17th place.
Really, really interested to see how Mario does tonight. It'd be great to talk to him maybe at some point tonight to find out why that lap went so bad and how he's marching through the field so cleanly as we go green on lap 11, and Cabry leads him down into 1.
That was a tough start for Lane
Yeah,
Sabile. He did not get going as Chase Cabry led the field into the first corner. That opened the door for Michael Fisher, so he gets to the inside. Now Colin Fern taking a stab at it. He looks on the outside for the lead in turn 3.
Ah, man, and Colin Fern, another one that we love to watch. Will he have the momentum up top, or will Cabry come up and block him? He's not able to block it as Fern with the run looks like he's just gonna get him at the line as he goes into one. He's definitely gonna get the lead. And now the battle is on up front. Tires cooled down just a little bit as Colin Fern ekes out a nose. Now a fender, now a bumper, and Colin Fern, FRS Racing Impala to the lead.
Our first new race leader here from Chicagoland Speedway. Fern's going to have to try and get away from the 39 car. And he's already opened the gap up to around a couple of car lengths at around 0.3 of a second. We are side by side for that third place position. James Bickford on the inside of the 30 car. Michael Fisher, just a look from Sabile's onboard perspective. And look at the different lines they're using in 1 and 2. Just the amazingness of a track like Chicago. You can expand your line and still be fast wherever you are. But I noticed there on the pass, Darren, that Colin Fern didn't just give Chase Cabry the very bottom and give him a lot of space. He tried pinching him down there, which might be something we'll be talking about. If you can get that middle lane rolling while the car's on your inside, you can make them struggle while trying to put the throttle back in.
Have you ever heard of Colin Fern giving anything to anyone other than a hard time? Other than a hard time, which he is all about dishing out the hard times.
Oh, far around. James Bickford from third place, spun by Michael Fisher, and he's going to save it on the back straightaway, keep it off of any sort of outside or inside wall. But he brings out our first caution since the restart at lap number 14.
Gonna wait to see the replay on that one, Kenneth, but good hard racing up at the front of the field out of the 29. Feel a little impatience right there, wouldn't you say, Kenneth?
Felt like he was trying to give him a bump draft on the back straightaway, but these cars are built in the way that the front and back bumpers, they are not aligned. So when you get into the rear end of somebody, you're going to lift the rear tires off the ground. And I know it's not any intent by Michael Fisher. Was just looking to push Bickford down the back straightaway, get him a good run into turn 3, but unfortunately spins him around. Now the good news for Bickford is that he does not acquire any damage, so he'll be okay. But the track position, that's going to be the biggest hit for the 29 as he will rejoin from 25th. Let's bring in driver of the number 98 and Season 5 Monday Night Racing Pro Series champion at Cambridge City, Indiana, Presley Sora. And Presley, let's talk about this paint scheme. You announced it on Twitter earlier this afternoon, and as soon as I saw it, I had to give it a like because it was an awesome idea, an awesome experience that you had at the Go Lake Community Center. Just talk to us about the experience you had with the kids out there in your hometown and the paint scheme overall for tonight.
Yeah, so the Super Summer Fun program is basically like a summer camp kind of, where the parents, if they can't keep the kids for the day, if they've got to work or something, they bring them in, and the Gole does fun activities with them. They've got a gymnasium, they got a pool, so kids stay entertained. And they had a professionals week a couple weeks ago, and I was one of the professionals that got to go in and speak to them. And yeah, I got to tell them about the sim racing, which they thought was really cool because obviously they play video games, and told them about the real life racing, which they had tons of questions about, and they were super interested in. And I was so impressed with some of the questions that they asked and how involved they were, because you know there's like 4 or 5 year old children in there, and they do so well with comprehending what you're talking to them about. And obviously race car stuff's probably pretty cool to a kid that age. I know it was for me when I was that age. So I showed them all the safety gear, told them about what I do, and then I gave them coloring sheets of my late model for this year, which that's the same paint scheme I've been running on Monday Night Racing the last few weeks. And I gave it to them, and I told them, you know, me and the counselors will pick a winning design, and that's what I'll race tonight on Monday Night Racing. So they loved it. They you know, I had kids coming up to me afterwards, and I was now known as the race car driver man rather than Presley. I was race car man. So yeah, they love coloring it, and man, some of them did a great job. There's a few that drew like my exact late model without any reference at all. Like, they didn't have a picture to go off of, and they drew it. And I was looking at them when I was, picking what car I was going to race tonight, and I was like, this is insane. I mean, it looks just like the real car, and they had nothing to go off of. So I know that they were paying attention, but yeah, we ended up picking Addie and Macy. They teamed up on it. It wasn't a group project, but they chose to work together on it, and they made this good-looking blue and gold design. And yeah, I thought it was funny because you would think kids that age, more of them would team up on it and do similar stuff, but they were the only two that worked together on it. So me and the counselors picked them, and they were super excited. You should have seen the look on their faces when I went into the room and told them that they were the winners. And yeah, so I hope that they're both watching tonight, but they were super stoked today too, because they didn't see the iRacing version of the car until this morning. So
wow.
And their faces just lit up with it. So Gavin Newton, he did the paint scheme in real life on the late model, and then he did the paint scheme on here too. He did a great job making it look just like colored pencil on here. I mean, it looks just like the drawing. So I thought it was a really cool opportunity for the kids to have something to really work for in the program, and they definitely enjoyed it. So it's a really unique paint scheme out here, and there's nothing else like it, but I had fun doing it.
Yeah, it's really cool stuff. I mean, nothing like letting the kids' creativity run wild. The scheme looks awesome tonight, and I can imagine, when we saw the photos, you putting on the race car drip, probably all the kids were a little excited about that. But just before we go green, what was the coolest question you got from the kids there at the community center?
Well, for some reason, a lot of them asked what happens when the tires fall off of a car. So we're going to hope that
iRacing did very well.
Yeah, we're going to hope that doesn't happen tonight. Hopefully I don't find that out, but that was the most common question, I'll say.
All right, well, that was a lot of fun. It was really cool seeing all the photos on Twitter. You're running 5th right now. A great run built up as of lap number 18. Ready for the restart. Go get him, Presley. We'll talk to you next time.
All righty, thank you.
That's Presley Sora, driver of the 98. That crayon-designed Toyota is going to be taking the green flag from the inside of row number 3. Meanwhile, the lead is Colin Fern, Chase Cabry on the outside of row number 1. Lane Sabile rounding out the top 3 as they head for the first corner. For the first time on the restart, Michael Fisher trying to dart underneath that 25 of Sabile, challenging for 3rd. That's not going to be good enough of a run. Sabile is going to hold him off. Car almost on the outside wall on the back straightaway. And here comes Chase Cabry for the lead to take it back.
Nice run. He caught the draft off of Colin going down the back stretch as they battle through 3 and 4. Let's see if Colin can get the run on the outside with the momentum. He's going to nail Chase Cabry in the door. Cut him off as he cuts to the line. So it looks like Colin will lead that lap, but at what cost has he riled up Chase Cabry as they still go side by side through 1 and 2.
And where does Leighton Sabile go in all of this? He was in the middle 3 wide. I can imagine he was probably thinking about it for a moment, but he's going to duck back in 3rd. Going to go to the inside in 3 and 4. Probably look at Chase Cabry, but again, that bottom side can be very dangerous on your tires. You've got a driver up there. We talked about how much they can pinch you at the bottom of the racetrack and pretty much wash up all the tire advantage that you may have on them. And so far, for Sabile, seems to be keeping plateaued at the moment. He's able to stay behind the driver of the 39 who looks for a monstrous run out of turn 2. He can't quite get it, and I believe, Darren, after the first pair of cautions, we're looking at these guys getting a little less aggressive, trying to be a little more conservative.
You would think they would just like to settle out and get some of these laps under their belts at this point, but we know Monday Night Racing always shakes out to be an exciting battle throughout. And, you know, with Colin Fern out front, probably a little bit of the excitement is tempered at this point because we're not having to watch Colin march through the field as we've seen him do in so many races throughout this season. Looks like he's pulling a little gap right now on Chase Cabry in 2nd as we walk our way back through the field. It could be settling down just a little bit at this point. It looks like we go single file through 3 and 4.
Keep an eye on the lead battle. Chase Cabry still trying different lines to get around Colin Fern. As a good run out of turn 4 by Cole Cabry. He'll go to the inside of the 98 Presley Source. So that make it a side-by-side bout for the 4th place position. Into turn 1, and Cabry with a slide job into the first 2 corners. Sora's gonna back it up and almost get into the back bumper of the 51, but it checks them both up, and here comes the 30 of Michael Fisher trying to enter the top 5 once more, and he'll try to bring in the 41 of Matt Stonick. But you look a couple of cars behind this pack, and you'll see that red, white, and black Sooner Esports Toyota Supra driven by Mario Miranda. Darren, your second pick behind Gary Sexton. Miranda started dead last in this field, 29th, and look at him inside the top 10. 24 laps in.
Yeah, with the benefit of only a couple cautions, what have we had? Maybe 15 green flag laps so far, and he's passed 15, 20 cars, 20 cars at this point. There's caution on the speedway once again.
And it's Steve Alfont sideways in the grass on the back straightaway. Looks like a spin all by his lonesome, no other damage. Looks to be assessed on the behind-the-wall Media Chevrolet. So Steve Alfont, who had a pretty decent qualifying effort tonight from Chicagoland, gets involved in an incident. We'll see how it started. This is 3 wide into turns 1 and 2 with Alex Monteferrante and James Bigford.
Steve held the pole for quite a while there, and it looks like he just pushed up into the wall, maybe backed out of the throttle a little bit, jerked the wheel off of it, and got caught up on someone else's bumper. So easy spin, no harm, no foul for either of these guys, and they'll both continue on to do battle in the later stages of this race.
Just a little mistake there by Alfont. Grabbed the outside wall. And again, we talked about how these cars can just suck into the safer barrier, and it's really hard to get out of it. It looks like he tried his best to bounce off, and he did bounce off just into the direction of the 79. Got him involved. Minor damage to both of those cars, but they will be able to continue. Now we are looking at a money stop here. Colin Fern, though, is going to stay out. He's going to go through the grass, and so will a couple of others. Looks like that was Cole and Lane Sabile. Cole Cabring, the 51, as many Darren Denman come in. That was a really late fake by all of them.
Trickery. And imagine that's Colin Fern doing a little trickery out on the field. Able to stay out on the field. I don't know. I'd have taken tires at this point. What are we, 25 laps into this one? Why not fuel up and get some tires on this thing? But obviously, Colin Fern looking for a little bit of strategy over the guys further on back in the field. We'll see how it plays out here at Chicagoland Speedway coming up after we go back to green.
Here's the race off pit road, won by Chase Cabry, decidedly so. A bulk of drivers coming in for tires and fuel, but we have a bunch of others that are staying out. 26 laps into the Bryant Shocks Technology 200 from Chicagoland Speedway. We'll have more on the other side on Podium Esports.
Mach 10. Let's give Mach 10.
FrontStretch.com, providing up-to-date news, analysis, and commentary on all the latest in the world of motorsports. Check out Front Stretch YouTube page for post-race content after the checker flag waves for most NASCAR events, giving you up-close interviews with your favorite drivers and the stories that matter each weekend. For the best seat of the track and the best view on the web, visit FrontStretch.com.
back at the Chicagoland Speedway for coverage of the Bryant Shocks Technology 200. Race number 4 overall, but race number 2 of the Gen 4 series of the MNR Summer Series presented by Mach10 Digital. Kenneth Bueno and Darren Denman to bring you the action on Podium Esports. Ryan Bauer, our producer, using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. We have a restart set up at lap number 29. Colin Fern and Leighton Sabile, they have been looking at it for the lead for a little while. They take the green flag and heading for turn 1 as Colin Fern has the lead by an inch.
Man, and Colin Fern is hungry. He was in the booth with us about a month ago for the opening of the Summer Series, and he promised us a win as he's battling with Leighton Sabile, who ran well last week at Atlanta. Battle for the lead, and it looks like Sabile is going to have it. Will he have enough of a run to slide up in front of him and complete that slide job? And he does it. Sabile to the lead. Great pass for him with the momentum, and he'll lead the lap from Chicagoland.
A native out of Statesville, North Carolina, takes the lead for the first time tonight, and here is the comeback kid, Mario Miranda, on the outside of turns 1 and 2. They're 3 wide for the second place spot. Fern is trying to dart the 29 car all the way to the inside of the racetrack. They're still 3 wide, and Fern's going to have to be at the middle, splitting the difference. And that got really close between those drivers at the front. Miranda slots into second as Bigford maintains in the battle for third.
What incredible storylines at the front of the field right now. You've got the guys that have started up front and run well all night long, and Sabile and Fern. And then you've got Miranda, who started shotgun on the field and has just marched his way up through. Great run for him. And how about James Bickford? Spun just a handful of laps ago, and now he's battling for the lead against Leighton Sabile in 3 and 4.
You got one driver that started 29th in Miranda. You've got a driver that started 13th and spun in James Bickford. So 2 comeback stories early on in this race. Bickford has a monumental run out of the final corner, and he's going to get some help behind. The 89 of Miranda looks almost 3 wide through the middle. Bickford sliding up in 1 and 2, and Sabile hangs tough on the outside.
And he's going to hang tough, but is he going to have the momentum? It looked like James Bickford had such a run on the bottom, but he's going to get stymied here. Let's see how far he pushes it into 3 and 4.
And Bickford will get the lead as Sabile slides up the bumps again. We talked about how brutal those can be. We're 3 wide, and threading through the middle was Chase Cavery. How did he keep that clean?
And I don't know how any of these guys are keeping it straight right now. They are battling. It's like the last lap. We've got 100 to go here from Chicagoland, and these guys are putting on a show as there's another storyline, and Presley Sora trying to go low and get third, maybe second out of these guys.
That was so close there between that 39 and the 89. I'm still surprised they did not get involved in an incident. They almost put Cole Cabrey into the outside wall. Presley Sora is going to take advantage of the inside lane to get third away from Mario Miranda. And here comes Matt Stolnick. This time, first time, Darren, we see him with a really good qualifying effort in this Monday Night Racing Summer Series. So nice to see that he is capitalizing on the time that he put in. He's had some bad luck in Q and really good luck in the races, and he's using the skill to his advantage. He's moved into 4th as up ahead. Chase Cavery, battle for the lead again. And he's got the spot. Bickford gives way. So Chase Cavery, the Tampa, Florida driver, back to the front. Former ARCA Menard Series driver Chase Cavery going to take the lead right once again at Chicagoland Speedway. The field has thinned out a bit throughout the top 5 or so. We're watching our first side-by-side battles at around the top 10, but mind you, we did see a lot of guys come in to pit road, namely Cavery, who's leading this race, Presley Sora, who's in 3rd, Matt Stolnick in P4, Bailey Turner, who has now entered the top 5 for the first time this evening. All of these guys came in for 4 fresh tires and fuel, while the rest have stayed out. So they're not surprised to see these guys up at the front.
No, and the one probably who is most surprising is Mario Miranda, though, right? Like, we knew he was fast, but he's not been really working that much of a pit strategy, and he's marched all the way up now, falling back now to 6th. But again, a great run for him as these leaders continue to battle here in the top 10.
And Colin Fern, you see him on 36 lap old tires. He is falling through the field drastically. He has fell to 15th place. That was Ford Martin to get around him. He's going to put up a fight for it. Coming back to turn 1, but Fern struggling on his set of tires, and that is going to be sort of an alternative strategy for these guys, right? Because Darren, you think about it, if we get into a long green flag run, they're going to have to pit under green. There's no doubt about it. They're blocking all the way to the inside of the racetrack. That's around P6 that they're doing that. Alex Monteferrante had to send a shut door to Michael Fisher and DJ Cummings. But those who are on the older tire strategy, they might have a bit of concern, because if this race goes green, they have to come in on green flag stops. Everybody else on fresh tires, they can stay out a little longer. It's going to hurt them.
Yeah, and you don't know how the mindset of these guys were either going into that third quick caution, right? We had 1, 2, 3 cautions right there in a row. And maybe they were expecting more, and they wanted to wait 1 or 2 more cautions before coming in. But if we get a long green flag run here, you're right, Kenneth, it's going to wreak havoc on these guys' strategies that did stay out, the Colin Ferns of the world and the Leighton Sabiles, and they've already lost a bunch of track position anyway to these guys, falling back to the bottom half of the top 10 and even into the teens.
And James Bickford so far is the highest running driver on the old set of tires. He's currently still in 5th, but we don't know how much of a drop that's going to be as we get further in this race. Once you enter that cliff zone, it's really hard to get back to a place where you have enough grip and stability underneath the hood. As you look at the 25 of Leighton Sabile on the inside, he's got help from Brandon Brown. And Darren, he's one of those old tire cars that's struggling. You look at him sideways, turns 3 and 4. But I guess I'm not surprised to see Sabile this sideways, because if you look at all of the abrasive 1.5-mile tracks that we've run in this series to date, Leighton Sabile always stands out as the guy that's always sideways at every corner. Almost looks like he's going to wreck every single corner, but always somehow manages to save it. That's always the stardom of Leighton Sabile at these kinds of tracks.
He's got an attitude for doing that. He's got a legend to uphold, and that is just walking that car sideways on these 1.5-mile cookie cutter tracks. Great run for him so far. He is dropping back through the pack, but you know who knows how that's going to set up 90 laps from now as we get down to the end of this thing. You've got to play the strategy. They've made the bet. They've got to lay in it at this point, and they're just going to have to hang on until that next caution or the opportunity arises for them to put tires on that machine.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. They're going to have to hope for a yellow at some point. Guys like Colin Fern, Leighton Sabile, they don't want to hang on with these old tires for the moment. Contact at around 15th. And that could have been a caution in its own right. Colin Fern giving the bumper to Cole Cabry in a 3 and 4. Somehow, Cabry saves it, and again more contact. He goes for the apron, and he's going to keep that car collected.
Boy, and we talked about it earlier, Colin Fern doesn't give anything but a hard time to anyone. We'll see how he battles, and he needs a caution, though, right? So he needs a caution. Maybe he makes his own caution as he works around Rocky Hartpence here. Battling back on the outside, he's just going to try to do it the honest way and keep it clean through 3 and 4.
Fern's going to take the top line in 3 and 4. You look at the onboard view, beautiful shots. Leighton Sabile gets run over by Hartpence as he was trying to enter pit road. He is not going to make it. He slides through the grass, and the 25 of Sabile gets significant rear end damage, and that somehow is not a yellow.
Man, what a change of events here as we're going to queue up the replay here in just a second. And Sabile was coming to pit road.
I'm not sure if he called it over the radio. I'm not sure Hartpence was also expecting it right there.
He just got clipped. Solid contact, though, that sent him through the grass. No caution. And Sabile's night goes from bad to worse as he does not take tires on that last caution, and now he's in a world of hurt, falling way back through the field. He finally made it to pit road as he's fallen all the way back to the last car in the lead lap, and he will go laps down this point, will Leighton Sabile.
Yeah, that's going to hurt him a lot, and if we don't get a caution, it's going to make things worse. He will, fortunately, be the lucky dog car, because nobody else ahead of him is a lap down, and it should be right in front of Davey Hazard, who is 1 lap down in 26th place, but he's going to need a yellow if he wants a wave around. Battle for the lead brewing. Presley Sora has been eyeing in on Chase Cabry, 2 of these cars on rather fresh tires, although fresh by 20 laps put down is not really fresh anymore, but compared to the drivers around them, 20 laps is pretty good in comparison. Sora running the bottom in 3 and 4, Cabry sliding a little up top, and we saw Sora set a time that was a little slower than Cabry in the last lap, but it looks like this one is a big improvement. 32.177, Cabry with a 32.240, so the colored Toyota Camry designed by Macy and Addy is on its way to the front.
Yeah, you got to be running just a little bit harder tonight after the It's an ego boost to go and talk to those kids about being a race car driver and having their colors on your car tonight. Presley Sora, probably a crowd favorite here this evening as he's battling for the lead against the Cabri boys. Going to the outside, he's got momentum as he comes to the stripe. He will not lead that lap, but he's going to have the momentum going into one.
Sora's going to hang tough on the outside. Cabri's going to give him the fight on the bottom. Sora gets a little loose in a turn 2, but he's going to stay there. Cabri's going to give him valid space. So Sora, the Indiana native, once again charges on the outside. Almost contact with the 39 Ford Fusion. Cabri's going to hold on, stays in the race lead. And I reckon, Darren, if you get called the race car man by a bunch of kids at a community center, I think that's the biggest compliment you could ever get. Because they look at you with so much awe. They're like, oh my God, that's so cool. And so with Presley Sora being called the race car man, that's really cool. It's Cabri way up the track.
The race car man down low against Chase Cabri. And looking, I mean, if anybody called me the race car man, you can just put that on the tombstone and I'd die a happy man tonight. As Cabri, the pole sitter, battling, trying to hold off Presley Sora, the Season 5 champion. What a fantastic battle, though. And on top of that all, they're battling side by side, but they're not losing any ground with Matt Stolnick in third as he battles Bailey Turner. He's actually just taken over third place from Turner. Great run for both of those guys. Bickford back 2.5 seconds back in fifth as we continue to watch this battle for the lead. Sora maybe letting his tires cool off just a little bit as we see Mario Miranda in the pits now, as Sora trying to sniff a little bit of a draft going down to the backstretch into 3 and get a run on Chase Cabri.
And there's a look at the Sooner Esports Toyota Supra. Mario Miranda on old tires. He comes in. Looks like he has no other choice at lap number 49. Now the question stands, does anyone else on old tires come in? You look at Cole Cabri. Looks like he's going to come in for a stop. Driver in front of him is Nick Olson hopping on the brakes. So they're coming in for green flag pit stops. Meanwhile, these guys, the majority of them up at the front, are now approaching lap 25 on their stint. So strategy is not going to kick in quite yet if this race stays green. Sora's trying his best to keep Cabri honest, but so far has not been able to break free for clean air.
I think a point, too, that why we're seeing such great races is these guys can use their stuff up. They know that the guys further back are going to be pitting and they're going to be faster. They don't need to pit right now until that really becomes a difference in, speed on the track, which it will become shortly as Colin Fern is going to hit the pit road. But use your stuff up now if you're these leaders and put on a heck of a battle. Try to lead some laps. Here we see the 96, the FRS Racing Chevy of Colin Fern finally making that pit stop. He's falling all the way back to the last half of the teens, running 18th. He'll pit out at Matt Kent and the great-looking old Jeff Burton Singular Wireless 31. He's in the pits as all. Green flag pit stops abound here from Chicagoland.
You see a lot of these drivers coming in. Matthew Kent going to come out. Looks like the 69 of Jason Grafton. He was also in. I believe he just passed by the apron, let the whole field through, but he should be expected to come in for pit road. Got a battle for P6. DJ Cummings on the inside of Michael Fisher. We keep an eye on the race lead. Now I want to look and see what exactly happened to Nick Olson, because the great esports Chevrolet was coming in, looked like a rather routine trip to pit road. He overshot his pit box, was stopped there for around 5 to 6 seconds, and then backed up into his stall. I'm not sure what happened to Olson there, but it loses him a lot of time, and he has dropped 2 laps down to 26th place.
Well, there's just been a lot of drama through the field tonight, right? Just little mistakes from a couple of these guys, some errant bumps, some just missed shifts and missed pit ins. And we've got drama up and down the leaderboard tonight. Great racing, though, as we're a little bit past a third of the way through, as it looks like Sora is finally going to have a run into 1, but will Chase Cabri be able to hold him off before the tires give out? Sora down low through 1 and 2, doing battle with the 39.
98 has been patient, and so far it is paying off. Sora on the inside of the race leader, still heading for turns 3 and 4. We'll see if this move is fruitful for the colored Toyota Camry. It looks like for now, not going to be the case, and Cabri's doing the same thing that I talked about earlier in the show, Darren. Just holding on to the middle line and forcing Sora to work a little harder to get a good run out of the corner. It keeps Cabri there, makes sure they're both side by side, and that way Sora doesn't break free by a large advantage. He's going to try the slide job. And
he's got the slide job.
Cabri looks for the crossover, but Sora gets loose, and Cabri's back on the outside.
Got to call that slide job when you see it. I'm going to say it anyway, even though we're halfway down the back straight. Slide job, and we're going to try it again here in 3 and 4 is slower down low. Intense racing for Chicagoland. It's like it's on the last lap at this point. But again, the amazing thing is that they are still a second ahead of third place Matt Stolnick. So the third place guy not being able to take advantage of these guys doing the yeoman's work of battling for the lead, as Chase Cabry is going to be able to hold on to it once again down the backstretch.
And the last thing you want to do if you're Presley or Chase is give way to Matt Stolnick. You don't want to give him the easiest route to the front. You want to make him work for it. And if you're side by side losing time, well, it's going to be a lot harder for them to stay in front of the 41 who broke free of the 5 car. Him and Bailey Turner were in a slight tussle for third. That settled out. Stolnick has been all by himself on the racetrack. So if they go side by side continuously for the lead, Stolnick is just going to have an easy trip to the front. You saw Ronnie Osmer in the 55. He called for pit road, so he is in for 4 fresh tires and fuel. Lap number 57, we approach our first pair of green flag stops. If we stay green all the way to the end, as here's a look from James Bickford, who's trying to get around the Lipton T car.
Yeah, Bailey always shows up with a good car, even a good-looking car, even when it's just that black number 5 that he was racing at Daytona about a month ago. Always a great-looking car out of Bailey Turner, and the kid is a wheelman, let me tell you that. I wouldn't be surprised to see that 5 car parked in victory lane later on this evening, as he's been having a quietly clean race all night long, as James Bickford looking to sniff 4th place out of him into 3 and 4, and it looks like he's going to be able to pull off that pass.
And Bailey Turner has a pretty decent history at these abrasive 1.5-mile tracks, and I can recall the Xfinity cars when they raced at Legacy, Texas, and even then, some of the other tracks that they raced that were hot, intermediate ovals in the sun that are very bumpy and eat up the tires. Turner is a master at this type of racing, and him working with Adam Cabot, who's also one of the better drivers at the intermediate side of things. You know, him and Cabot were almost unstoppable at one point as a duo. Turner's going to lag back here on James Bickford, who has picked up a lot of pace over the last couple of laps, but despite having 10-lap older tires, as here is Alex Monteferrante in 13th on pit road.
Rocking the old Dodge Charger paint scheme on that car tonight and looking really good at it. He'll take off back onto the track with a fresh 4 set of Goodyear tires on that thing, as this battle for the lead just will not go away. The question is, how long are they going to battle for it before coming to the pits? They've got all the way up till 13th, pinned 1 lap down. Mario Miranda, first car 1 lap down in 13th, as they've run away with this show so far. But if we stay green, the green flag pit stops are going to cycle through this, and we've got 2 very separate races going on at that point. The guys on these older new tires, and then we've got the guys on the newer new tires, I guess we'll call it at this point. But there's 2 very separate battles. There's 2 very separate races going on at this point, and it's all going to be determined on where the cautions fall and how this strategy plays out over these next 70 laps.
That's true, and also you look at this top 5 all clustered in at around 1.3 seconds under a blanket. So if you look at them over this long green flag run, you got to question which of them is going to come in first. If you're Bailey Turner, are you more willing to go in for the undercut now that you're starting to fall off? If you're James Bickford, now that you're in the sweet spot, are you looking to come in first? If you're Sora, do you come in earlier than Chase Cabry to try and beat him on the undercut? There are so many factors that are going into this race as it unfolds under green. And then there's another factor, fresh tire cars that are a lap down. Mario Miranda and Colin Fern are going at it for 13th. They're trying to unlap themselves at lap 62 as James Bickford calls for the pit lane.
Trying to unlap themselves and also be the leader when all these other guys pit, correct? So there's, again, going back to that 2 different battles going on at the same time. Looks like Stolnick's on the pit road too, along with James Bickford. So a lot of those guys on those older, fresh tires, we'll call it, they are starting to pit right now, and it cannot be long for Chase Cabry, Presley Sora, and the rest of the top 8 at this point to pit. Gary Sexton holding on right now in 8th position. All of those guys, we're going to need to see them in the next couple laps as Miranda unlaps himself. So that, again, is a big deal because now they've made up all their ground over these guys who have stayed out on older tires and lost time to them. So it's just a confluence of events and strategies and tire wear issues and all of this fun stuff going on the track. It's really hard to keep track of, but we'll do the best we can, right, Kenneth?
Yeah, that's true. Even though we're not the greatest mathematicians in the world, we're going to try and calculate as best as we can. And you can imagine pressure's probably building for your leaders as the lap cars are getting around. Here comes Presley Sora and Chase Cabry, the top two coming in, fighting the wheel as they're coming onto the brakes. Bailey Turner's going to join them behind it. That was a big stop for Bailey Turner because the last lap he tried slowing down, but he had a lap car on fresh tires behind him. He did not want to get run over, so he hopped back on the throttle and decided, I'm going to go in next time by. So he comes in with the leaders collectively, and that hands over the lead to DJ Cummings, Rocky Harpence, and Art Reimer complete the top three.
And these guys, again, they're going to have to come into pit road here soon, all the way down to Gary Sexton in 5th. So these guys will have to pit, and we'll see where it cycles through. My safe money says that Mario Miranda is going to be leading, or Mario Miranda, Colin Fern are going to be leading this thing, running 1-2 when this round of pit stops takes place. But how long will they be able to hold on as these guys with new tires storm out of the pits?
And speaking of the stop 4 tires, Presley Sora just outright beat Chase Cabry to the exit line. And not only did Chase Cabry fall behind Presley Sora, he fell behind Bailey Turner, despite the 5 car having a slower pit stop, 14.3 seconds compared to Cabry's 14.1. But that's a big change there, Darren, for the 39 car. He's going to have a little more work to do if he wants to get to the net race lead as Rocky Harpence takes away the lead. Nice job for the 71.
Well, we did not see Chase Cabry get onto pit road really well. Presley Sora actually dove under him and took that position from him as he came to pit road. So maybe a little bit of lack of aggression from Chase Cabry on that one, but he has a fast car. We'll see if he can battle back from it. But as we've seen all night long, track position really is key, and that car that can get out front is able to hold it as we watch these guys now cycle through. We're still waiting for guys like Art Reimer to pit along with Gary Sexton, but when this all cycles through, it looks like, again, that Colin Fern will be leading this thing by about a second over Mario Miranda.
And it looks like those two have done a nice job of playing strategy in the right way. We mentioned, at least you mentioned, Darren, the 2 different races that we've been seeing tonight. Looks like we're seeing a bulk of drivers in either category, whether it's the earlier stops or whether it's the later stops, the different lap counter of tires these guys have been on. Here's the 49. Art Reimer from the lead. He's going to come in. Mark Rabilis. And the 49 goes sideways. Hits the inside wall.
Boy, just locked up the rear tires, getting on the pit road, trying to get down to pit road speed as Rabilis takes the lead. No caution, as it looks like Art Reimer will get it sorted out as Gary Sexton also pits. So right now, Rabilis is the only car that has not pitted yet, and the lead will cycle back around to Colin Fern. When all is said and done, he's going to have about a 1.5 second lead over Mario Miranda as soon as Mark Rabilis hits pit road. Looks like he's coming now.
Here's the 99 hopping on the brakes. The Bitcoin Chevrolet is going to try to come in without any problems, but he locked up the right rear. He's going to be able to get to pit road speed limit without any issues. Here's Miranda now in net second. Colin Fern has the lead by about 1.2 seconds over the driver of the 89, and they have put a decent gap to the 29 of James Bigford, who was the earliest to pit out of the lead cars before this cycle of green flag stops. He is now up to 6 as Rabilis has come in and cycled through the field. He's going to have to get around Cole Cabry, who's directly in front of him, then Brandon Brown, then Michael Fisher before he can get to Miranda, but Fisher is already there on the side of the 89, so Fisher looks for P2.
Let's talk about the fresher tires and what they have done, though. James Bickford came to pit road a handful of laps before Presley Sora. Bickford was a distance behind, a second or 2 behind the battle that was shaping up for the lead, which was Presley Sora and Chase Cabry at the time. Sora stayed out later on in that run. Bickford came to pit.
Got run over by Bickford into 1 and 2. Brandon Brown gets into the outside wall, and that's a caution flag with 63 to go, and there's more trouble in front. Oh, no.
What a change of events right there. Just as we got settled into this 2-race scheme with the pit stops going on, talking about James Bickford and the run he was having by pitting a little bit earlier. He just closes in on Brandon Brown like a rocket ship, and I don't know if Brandon came out of the gas there or what, but Bickford just closed in rapidly and sent him into the outside wall. Huge change of events.
Again, of course, Bickford's on fresher tires, so obviously he's going to have way more speed. But I mean, here the line
I mean, just the
it just
closing
merged
right
together,
there.
and he just gets right into the rear bumper of Brandon Brown to slow down a little bit in the middle of the corner, just trying to make it. And so Bigford just gets right into the rear. This sort of reminds me of Corey Heim and Mario Miranda back at Charlotte, first race of the Gen 4 series. And Brandon Brown, who was in the top 5, ultimately gets taken out.
Going to be really interesting to see if these guys all try to get back on the same pit strategy at this point. I know we just wrapped up the last round of pit stops, but the guys like Presley, Sora, and Six, will they stay out or will they get on these fresher tires? It looks like we have varying pit strategies. Colin Fern, leader, is going to lead them on the pit road, though. Mario Miranda, and I see a handful of others following them down.
Good news for these guys, though. We'll get fresh tires, and Bigford, although he is counted for that incident at fault, we'll see if he gets any penalties from Paul Sutton, race control, but he will come down pit road nonetheless. Michael Fisher is going to stay out. He's going to bring Presley Sora, Alex Monteferrante, Matt Stolnick, Bailey Turner, Chase Cabry with them. And it looks like just a bit of difference on the laps that they did come on to pit road, but out of the lane, give it to the 96 by a clear margin. The 89 of Miranda second, James Bigford in third out of pit road. And as we are at halfway, Darren, man, the strategy has unfolded tenfold. We didn't really expect this to really happen all that much, but the way these cautions came out, we're seeing guys try very different things. It's been a lot of fun to see.
Well, you know, Kenneth, that racing is just guys driving fast and turning left, right? There's nothing more to racing other than just that, but this would just throw a wrench in that argument tonight, because this has been a strategic battle that I've seldomly seen, even in professional racing. Great racing through the first half of this race, great strategies playing out, and honestly, I don't even know where this is all going to shake out at this point. We've got some fast cars on fresh tires running in the teens right now with Colin Fern and Mario Miranda. He's been passing, both of those guys have been passing anything they've wanted all night long, but then we've got guys now at the front of the field, and Fisher and Sora and Stolnick, who have just a handful of green flag laps on their tires. And it's going to be so interesting to see how this plays out. DJ Cummings, we just saw him leading a little bit ago, so he probably only has 1 or 2 green flag laps on his tires. So some names that we have not seen up front all night long are now up there. Will they be able to hold it? And you got to stay tuned to this Monday Night Racing broadcast to find out, because it is going to get fun over these last 60 laps.
You've had a lot of heavy hitters be at the front of the field, but it's starting to spread out a little bit. And you got to give credit to guys like Michael Fisher, Alex Monteferrante, Matt Stolnick, Bailey Turner. They have been so skillful all night long, but it's opened the door for a lot of drivers inside the top 10, which includes the league owner, Ford Martin. First of all, Ford, welcome. And I mean, this race, it's shaping up to be a full strategy fest, because everybody's been on pit road at different laps. For you, what has the experience been like?
Yeah, right now it's just the guys in our channel, we're just kind of just figuring out how first through ninth is kind of screwed right here, while 10th on back is really in a good spot. Like guys like Fern and Mario and those guys are really in a good spot to kind of with the way these tires are going to work out. We kind of thought about maybe coming down pit road last second, but we only have 1 set left with 60 to go. So Mach10 Digital Chevrolet has been pretty fast. Starting the top side right here, so we'll kind of see what happens, but it's just all about kind of take care of your stuff. Sometimes, to go slow, you got to go fast, you got to go a little slow, especially a track like this with as much tire wear. So we'll see what happens, but it's been pretty fun.
And you talked about there having only 1 set left. It's really interesting. So you're going to try and hold on to this set of tires for now. Is there a certain window that you want to see open for you to take that last set, or you're going to try and extend this all the way to the end within maybe 10, 15 laps to go?
Well, I have 2 sets left, so it's right now using. We thought about coming down to take one of our sets, and then have 1 left, but we weren't sure if we were going to make it that long. So we really want to say that for like a final restart or something. So I think right about 100, 110 is where you want to try it and kind of see what happens. So we'll see what happens.
All right, sounds good, Ford. You're running 8th right now. Pretty good run so far. I know you got some friends around you, DJ Cummings, Matt Stolnick, so that's going to be a lot of fun. Best of luck on the restart. Go get him.
Thanks, pal. Appreciate it.
So that is Ford Martin, driver of the 07. He's on the outside of row number 4, and he's got a couple of friends around him, like I said. Stolnick, Cummings around the same margin. And and Rocky Harpence inside the top 10 on his inside. Green flag back in the air. Michael Fisher holds on to the lead. Alex Monteferrante in the number 79. Give him the push for turn 1. Presley Sora now has to deal with Bailey Turner, the Lipton T Chevrolet on the inside as Chase Cavery tries to force through the top 5, but he's got nowhere to go out of turn 2.
Man, just great racing right now. There's some points I want to bring up and just belabor what Ford said here in a little bit, but let's watch this racing as it looks like Sora, who's been fast all night long, looking down low on Fisher, and he's going to have the momentum and the lead as Bailey Turner with a heck of a run coming out of 4. He's going to get second coming to the line over Fisher, as well as Chase Cavery's also in the mix. Great racing up front as these guys on just a little bit fresher tires come storming up through the field.
You put the Crayola on that 98 and it has become a speed demon. Leading this race, Bailey Turner trying to give the T to the rest of the field. Chase Cavery, Michael Fisher right behind. Looks like he's in a battle with Matt Stallnick. Fisher slowly fizzling out, using the outside to keep momentum wound up. You look at Colin Fern, FRS racing driver on the inside. Door shot by the 79.
Yeah, but Colin's got those tires right now, and he's going to use them up. We've never seen Colin ride. He's always aggressive up on the wheel, and he's going to try to use up the advantage that those tires have right now as he is slicing and dicing through this field. He cuts low under Fisher, looking to get DJ Cummings in the same move as he dives low into 3.
He's got fresher tires, so he is going to want to keep this fight going. He wants to keep chopping through the field. Fisher drops all the way back to 8th place. And Colin Fern making his name known in the top 5, gets to the inside of Matt Stallnick. That's an easy pass for P4 as they go door to door right around second. Chase Cavery is looking to get right back in that spot that he was in with Presley Sora as he clears the 5 car out of turn 2. And he's going to have to hope that he closes in on the 98 before Colin Fern gets there.
Yeah, somebody needs to tell the top 3 just to run right now and don't look in reverse because Colin Fern is coming, and it might be too late anyway. Those 4 fresh field goods on that Chevrolet are allowing Fern to just slice up through the field. As Mario Miranda, we're watching some highlights out of him right here. It looks like they get into the wall coming down the backstretch as they, no caution for this one. As Miranda and Bickford spin through the backstretch grass. An unfortunate break for them as we don't receive the caution. 2 of our fastest performers all night long finding some trouble here in the late going.
That's a tough break for Miranda, who's now 4 laps down and counting, down in 24th, and Bickford is the last car on the lead lap in 22nd. So some drama near the rear of the field, and we saw Bickford back there by design. He got into that incident to bring out the yellow flag, so that's why he was back there. He got penalized by race control, got sent to the end of the longest line, and was trying to work his way through the field. So unfortunate for the 2-time Summer Series winner and the rookie out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. But meanwhile, Colin Fern has broken through to second. Bye-bye Chase Cavery, he says, as he looks onward to rip apart the Crayola design number 98.
Man, this is, you might just send this Crayola design to the that big blue recycling bin that was run to the pencil sharpener right next to the door. That might be where this Crayola car is going as Colin Fern cuts low with those 4 fresh tires, and I don't think there is anything in the world right now that Presley Sora can legally do to hold Colin Fern back, and as we see him easily take the lead, it just validates that point.
Well, again, he's got fresher tires, so that's the reason why he's been able to pick up so much speed on the guys around him. As Cole Cavery, who's also on the same strategy as Fern, he's going to dive to the inside and take second away. So just like Ford talked about, Darren, on the yellow flag, it's a tough spot for the top 9 or so because they're stuck on old tires. They're going to have to hope that either a caution comes out at some point or some form of strategy helps them get fresher tires at the end. But for now, they're going to have to deal with the brunt of these guys sort of cutting through them.
Right, and that's the point I wanted to bring up before we got into this really great racing was that, you know, those guys on their different strategies, they're just going to have to stick through their strategies. I help a lot of kids with a lot of race cars up here, and you can't worry about what the other guy is doing. You got to run your own race. And that's what the Ford Martins and these guys on different strategy need to do. You know, the Gary Sextons of the world, they aren't having the most out there type of nights, but they have to run their race. They have to stick to their strategy. And, you know, if fortune shines on them and smiles on them, then they might get the finish and the result that they need. But right now, you can't worry about Colin Fern running away with this thing because he's only got 1 set of tires left, whereas if the cautions fall right, those extra set of tires in the pits for some of those other guys would really come into play. So run your race at this point would be my advice across the field.
And the big pointer is that you want to have a set of tires for those last couple of laps, because if you turn your attention, if you dive deep in the memory bank to Atlanta Motor Speedway
Yes, sir.
a long time ago,
Year
Colin
ago.
Fern had a tire set waiting for him on pit road, got the fresh set on a green-white checkered attempt, and just swarmed through the field and picked up the win to get him into the championship round. Obviously, it's a way different context tonight, but the case is the same. You want to save that set of tires for the very end when you may need it. It could be the difference between winning and losing this race. Here's Nick Olsen on the inside of Gary Sexton. And Darren, we haven't talked much about the driver of the number 13, but for the setup that he's on, he's running pretty well tonight.
Man, he's running my Amazon. He's running my Amazon wheel special. I don't even know if it's a Logitech or what. It was just an Amazon special that he came and borrowed from me yesterday. He had to rewire it, as we talked about in the pre-race, as we see a battle for the lead right now between one of the Cabry boys and Colin Fern. Colin on the outside looking to hold on. We'll talk a little bit about Gary, though. He's running just a backup setup, a piece-together setup at his mom's house with bad internet in Pennsylvania in a thunderstorm, running just outside of the top 10 at this point. So if there is a hard effort award, give it to Gary Sexton tonight for just laboring through this one at Chicagoland.
But wait. If you're saying that the setup that he's running, the wheel that you have, is just an Amazon wheel, you don't know what brand it is?
I have no idea what brand it is. And you know, Gary has a beautiful rig. Gary's got a rig that's probably more valuable than most of the vehicles that I drive on public roads. And he is wheeling my rewired backup setup that we literally pulled out of the closet at my house in about 24 hours ago, as his boys ran around my house trying to find cords. And it was just a great experience. And it's just fun to see Gary out there wheeling this thing. But that's the fun thing about sim racing, right? Like, everybody comes together. We talk about it every week, as again we see Cole Cabry battle for the lead. It looks like he's gonna get it right now over Colin Fern. But you've got guys like Cole Cabry battling a Xfinity Series owner in Colin Fern, battling just guys that are learning to drive race cars from the sim, like Presley Sora. You know, we don't have some of our ringers in the field tonight like we usually do with Corey Heim. But you bring all these guys together from different walks of life, driving different systems that they have maybe just pulled out of somebody else's closet the day before as a car in the wall.
The 71 car in trouble in the middle of turns 1 and 2. Everyone gets around him, but Harpence brings out the caution with 44 laps to go. It was a great run building up. He had old tires, and there's his reaction on the bottom right of your screen. We'll dial up the replay and see what happened, but it appeared to be contact with Joshua Slate in turn 1.
I'll let you talk him through this, Kenneth. I was so high on my Gary story, I didn't even watch what was going on.
Man, I mean, we saw it happen last second. So here's a look at Slate. Oh, that's a minuscule touch, but that's enough to send the 71 around hard into the wall at the front end of the race car. The very bright pink car that we've been accustomed to seeing out of Harpence in this series. As here's a look from Ronnie Osmer. We were riding on board with him just when the incident happened. So the 55 car, you'll see it right in front of him. As Slate goes into the corner, that red, white, and blue Chevrolet turns the 71 around, and he gets through it.
And let's talk about strategy now. 43 to go. We talked to Ford Martin a little bit ago. He was talking about pitting with 20 to go to get a fresh set of tires, but he has 2 sets of tires. So if that caution falls right, he'll probably be able to win the strategy game as Cole Cabry leads them all into pit road, and it looks like everybody is coming down for 4 fresh tires.
Nobody is electing to stay out, so it means this field is going to be on an even playing field when we get the green flag next time through, with under 40 laps to go from Chicagoland. Cole Cabry trying to beat the number 96 to the pit stall first. And there's Chase Cabry there, the first pit stall after getting the pole tonight. And so they will lift up the jacks. 4 fresh tires on either side. The race car, some fuel to top them off as well, which should get them relatively close to the end of this race. Cole Cabry is going to win the race off the lane. Colin Fern, Presley Sora, your top 3. So the 51 will have the lead when we get the green flag. The Bryant Shocks Technology 200 continues on Podium Esports. Don't go anywhere as you're watching coverage of the Monday Night Racing Summer Series presented by Mach10 Digital.
Mach 10? Let's give Mach 10.
You're cleared for takeoff.
FrontStretch.com, providing up-to-date news, analysis, and commentary on all the latest in the world of motorsports. Check out Front Stretch YouTube page for post-race content after the checker flag waves for most NASCAR events, giving you up-close interviews with your favorite drivers and the stories that matter each weekend. For the best seat of the track and the best view on the web, visit FrontStretch.com.
Request permission to engage with intent, conducting smash, over.
Four laps complete here in this Bryant Shock Technology 200 from Chicagoland Speedway. Kenneth Bueno and Darren Denman to bring you all the coverage for the Monday Night Racing Summer Series presented by Mach10 Digital. Recent caution involving the 71 of Rocky Harpence brings the field on an even playing field as tires are concerned, and Cole Cabrey brings us back to the action for turn one. A really good jump for the first corner as Colin Fern has to play defense on the number 98 of Presley Sora. Can they withstand all the pressure from some of the best drivers in tonight's race?
And so, like, right now, Kenneth, we've been talking about the strategy all night long, but everybody is on that level playing field at this point. And as we talked through the break, a lot of the players that we expected to be up front all night long are expected to be up front at the end of this one are up front, as Presley Sora diving low under Colin Fern. But now the guys on equal tires, equal strategies. Let's see how they dance through these last 38 laps. As really, again, we've been talking about the cream rising to the top all night long. And the cream is at the top right now between the Cabrey boys, Colin Fern, Presley Sora, Bailey Turner. They're all names that we expected to be in the top five, and here they are to battle it out over the last 38 laps.
And we've also been talking about tire management, tire conservation. That's going to be of note here in this last stand of the race, because if we do not get a yellow flag, we should expect everyone to stay out for virtue of track position. So it's going to be all about holding on to your stuff, making sure you don't burn it up as early as possible. We are still side by side for third, and Sora, Cabrey, they have not been able to separate from each other. It looks like they've been conjointed all race long as Colin Fern holds on to the lead, and it's a top four breakaway before you get to Bailey Turner.
It's a balancing act right now, too, though, because we saw Presley Sora and Chase Cabrey battle it out there through the mid part of the race, and it didn't seem like Presley could get past Chase there when they were on the same strategy, right? So now we see these guys on the same strategies, and I would want to have the lead, even if it is going to cost me just a little bit more tire wear right now to get it. We see Colin Fern holding that lead right now, and we know he is a bulldog when he gets a hold of that lead. However, Chase Cabry is going to battle him for it right now. Down low, coming out of 3 and 4 to the stripe.
And there's one thing about Colin Fern's driving style, Darren, is that he will not go away silently. He will go away with a fight if he does. And he's going to try and hold on to the lead here against that 39. You look at him with that method of using the middle to pinch the 39 on the inside of the racetrack. The last thing that the 96 needs or wants at this moment in time, Darren, is to be put in a Cabry sandwich, because Cole Cabry's right there. Although Presley Sora is giving him a run for his money, we are side by side, not only for the lead, but for third as a wiggle out of the 96 pushes Chase Cabry to the front.
Boy, the Bulldog did give it up, and it looks like he's going to be under threat for second now as the Cabry boys are looking to run away with this thing in first and second. They started first and second 120 or 199 laps ago, whatever it was, and they are still up there at this point battling for this lead. Actually, I think all 4 of these guys qualified in the top 5 as now Colin Fern goes back to the lead in 3 and 4. Chase Cabry with the run, though, coming out to the stripe. And we are once again experiencing great racing on Monday Night Racing.
Yeah, you're right. The top 3 started this race inside the top 3. It shows you how good they were in qualifying and in race trim. We do have, though, 4 drivers who started 20th or worse inside the top 10. So that's worthy of note as we close in on 32 laps to go. Your top 4 racked underneath the blanket. Colin Fern almost gives the bumper to Chase Cabry in turn 3. Cole Cabry's going to back out of line, and Presley Sora dives in for second, but to no avail.
And this would be the race of the season if this was a broadcast actual cup race, and they still have 32 laps to go here from Chicagoland Speedway. So we are only going to expect this racing to get better as Colin Fern going to duck low, looking low on the backstretch, but Chase Cabry blocking just a little bit. Colin with the line, those caution is out. Oh, big one. Spinners on the backstretch. Look like Rocky Hartpence in it, as well as the 54.
Second straight incident for Rocky Hartpence, and it all began with the 54 of Steve Alfont. The behind-the-wall media Chevrolet ends up into the 71, and the yellow flies inside 32 laps remaining. Here's a look from Slate, driver out of Ashland, Virginia, on the outside, and then there's Hartpence on the bottom. No fault of the 71. Just looks like, Darren, first instance of a driver on the outside getting loose and chasing it down the track. So easy to do in these cars.
Absolutely. We can't feel too bad for Rocky, though. We were just looking at him in his rig, and he has got a great old Sterling Marlin TV panel bumper on his wall there. So not everything going bad for Rocky, even though he just hit the wall here at Chicagoland Speedway. It looks like he's got a great setup there at his house as we are under caution with 31 to go at Chicagoland.
Tough break for those two. Rocky Hartpence with significant damage, and he somewhat walked away with only front-end damage on the last caution involving himself, but now he's going to take it down to pit road. Now we do see a bulk of drivers that are either faking and staying out, and those that are coming in, and that does include the 5 car of Bailey Turner. He is coming in from the top 5. Matt Stonick is also coming in from the top 10. So a unique call by these two late in the race.
And I don't know if I like this or not. They're going to be so far back in the field, and with only... Yeah, I don't know. But again, like we talked about it just a little while ago, you got to run your race and you got to give yourself the advantage. If you don't think that what you've got is going to be able to win the race, you got to take the advantage that you think you can get from those 4 fresh tires. I don't love it, though. You're going to be 15th back with, what, 10 lap fresher tires? Is that going to be enough? Man, I'm not scientific enough to have been looking at the fall off on these tires, but it's going to be a battle for the guys like Bailey Turner to come up through the field and try to get the win here on Monday Night Racing.
So now we are back, Darren, to a 2-strategy race.
Yes, sir.
We used to have that for the entire event until that caution where everybody came down pit road basically the same time. Now that we have another different strategy, if you're those guys that are coming in, what are you hoping for in these last 30 laps?
Oh, dude, I just want the same amount of racing that we've been seeing. I mean, we've got some contenders up at the front. We've got the Cabry boys. We've got Colin Fern. We've got Presley Sora. Gary Sexton with my wheel is running 8th. So, like, man, this is shaping up to be a great one. So many different cool storylines going up, from the sentimental with that paint scheme on Presley Sora's car to Colin Fern finally trying to come through on the win he promised us 3 weeks ago. You've got the Cabry boys up there, just incredible storylines, and the boys are putting on a show tonight. So I don't even know what I want to see. I just want to see more of what I have been seeing.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun to watch these drivers out on track, and it, again, just goes back to what we saw at Charlotte Motor Speedway to kick off this Gen 4 series. That definitely set the tone. We've seen a lot of strategy racing. We've seen a lot of great action just with raw pace on track. And those guys who are fighting the 900 horsepower underneath the hood, well, they're having a lot of fun. We're having a lot of fun as well on Podium Esports. Well, as we are under caution inside 29 laps to go, we will remind you that coverage of the Monday Night Racing Summer Series is brought to you by Mach10 Digital, your partner for stunning video production and digital marketing solutions. From concept to creation, they bring your vision to life with precision and creativity. Elevate your brand with captivating visuals and impactful messaging. From weddings to real estate videography, you can contact them today at Mach10digital.com for digital excellence. Mach10 Digital, where innovation meets creativity. Chase Cabry still in the race lead here from Chicagoland Speedway. Colin Fern behind him in second. Presley Sora and Cole Cabry rounding up the top four. Nick Olson inside your top five. Our most recent caution involving the number 71 of Rocky Hardpants and the 54 of Steve Alfont. But just a note, if you're enjoying the racing tonight, well, we have a lot more coverage for you when the checkered flag is dropped. Join Jared Haas and Trey Lyle on the FrontStretch.com post-race show as they bring you all the analysis and the recap of tonight's Bryant Shocks Technology 200. And look forward to the next race, the Super Speedway Series at Talladega next Monday night. So be sure to stay tuned to Podium Esports after the race is concluded for the FrontStretch.com post-race show with Jared Haas and Trey Lyle. Unfortunate, Darren, that Brandon Houff is not in the action. I mean, we've seen him have the perspective of being out on track and then giving us the opinion right after. It's sort of sad that he's not in the broadcast tonight, but I'm sure Trey Lyle, Jared Haas, they will have you covered. They're all absolutely phenomenal.
Absolutely. It's fun, too, to have the guys from Front Stretch covering these races, right? I was just sitting here thinking, like, those are the guys that give me my source when I'm watching the Cup race and the Busch race or the Xfinity races over the weekend. So to have them here covering Monday Night Racing, very cool to see those guys online after the race tonight. As we go back to green with 27 to go, and the Cabry boys look to dominate the last half of this run. Colin Fern, though, will not be denied tonight as he's on the high side, along with Presley Sora 3 wide for second.
3 wide for second, and they were 4 wide for a moment near the back half of the top 20. Remember, there are a plethora of fresh tire cars moving their way up through the field, so keep an eye on the back of the field. We may see some of those cars emerge in due time. Michael Fisher is stuck 3 wide in the middle, now backs out as the 79 gets by. It looks like he's in a battle with Gary Sexton in the 13 for 8th, as your top 4 have stayed single file, but maybe not for long as Fern tries to look on the inside. And you watch this 3-way fight. 41 hard into the outside wall. Caution is out again. Stolnek with a vicious hit to the safer barrier.
Man, I know it's sim racing, but that still hurts to even watch. Matt Stolnek go nose into the wall. Gets hooked. I feel like that's the second time in 2 weeks he's nosed it into the wall like that. A couple hard crashes at Atlanta for him last week as we just see the intensity ratchet up here. Stolnek in the middle of a 3 wide through 1 right outside the top 10, and he just gets hooked, I think, off the bumper of Art Reimer. Tough break for him. Great run Matt had going. He had those fresh tires coming up through the field, and it's just all for naught as he noses it into the second turn wall. Oh,
49
that
car,
hurts.
Art Reimer comes down the track as he's trying to save it. The 41 was in the middle, 3 wide, like you said. He's in that group of fresh tire cars with Bailey Turner and a bunch of others. Again, they're both trying to work their way through the field, but the 41 just has no control over that incident. Art Reimer is trying to save it, but he catches the 41, and that typical sportsbook Ford Fusion goes for an absolutely insane hit on the outside wall. One of the most brutal crashes we've seen tonight. Stolnek has, of course, put the car on pit road. It looks like the night is over for driver number 41.
It's painful, though. Painful to watch. Trying to look at the what these tires mean for some of these guys too, as they try to work their way up through the field. We're getting notes from our producer Ryan Bauer. It looks like the tires are going to be about half a second faster minimum. So those guys that did just pit with 29:30 to go, they should be in the mix. So again, we talked about all night long, Kenneth, the different strategies, and we thought, well, maybe we're going to get off of that a little bit here and get everybody on the same page. But now with 24 to go, those fresher tires might absolutely come into play, and we are still on the two-strap strategy in a sport that, you know, all these guys do is just drive fast and turn left. But again, we're bringing in the great thinking minds of this sport as the strategy comes into play once again.
We're going to be watching that 5 car of Bailey Turner because he is just on the outskirts of the top 10. That Lipton T car on the opposite strategy. He needs to hope, though, for no more yellows, because if more cautions come out, might be a debate between coming down for tires or track position. But if the leaders do come in, then that's a problem for Turner in his own right. Coverage of the Bryant Shocks Technology 200 from Chicagoland is brought to you by Bryant Shocks Technology. They ensure smooth rides on the street and on the tracks with their shocks and suspension systems. If you want to learn more about the services that they provide, you can go to facebook.com/Bryant Shock Technology for more. So a proud sponsor of the Monday Night Racing Summer Series presented by Mach10 Digital, and of course a proud sponsor of tonight's race from Joliet, Illinois. Now, Darren, Chase Cabry, Cole Cabry, Presley Sora, and Colin Fern, they have been the best drivers. If you forbid the strategy that Bailey Turner is pulling off right now, which of these 4 do you think has it in them to steal the win with 23 to go?
Give me a second on that one. I mean, my knee-jerk reaction is Colin Fern, but he's back to 4th. He's, I feel, probably the most aggressive driver in that top 4. But the Cabrys have been so fast throughout this entire summer series. It's going to be hard to beat one of them, let alone 2 of them. And then you've got this great the storyline with Presley Sora running this incredible special paint scheme that the kids at summer camp have developed for him. So, like, flip a coin, and like whoever comes out as the winner is going to be a great winner tonight, even if it comes back from the Nick Olsons or the Ronnie Osmers as they try to sneak up and steal one. I like the Cabrys at this point, though. Like, I probably Chase at this point as he's leading. He's been up front all night long, battling it out for the lead with Presley earlier on tonight. He was able to hold Presley off, and we'll factor that into my decision. I'll take Chase Cabry just to ride this one out over the last 21 laps. But man, there are so many variables to come into play. To pick a winner in this one is like picking where the rain is going to fall next if you're a local weatherman.
Well, I mean, if you're in Miami, you probably anticipate that it's going to fall everywhere just because that's how it's been all summer.
Fair. That's fair.
But, I mean, yeah, it's hard to decipher which of these 4 is going to be the winner out of all this. But even then, this race could change because Bailey Turner's strategy, all those guys on fresh tires, they might have something to say to these 4. They might step it up to them before it's all over.
And Bailey Turner's been fast all night long. He's been fast all summer long in this series. So we know he's a wheelman. Man, he almost won Daytona leading it at the, I believe he was leading it at the white flag before DJ got into him, and then it kind of all broke loose from there. So we know that there's some guys in the back like Bailey Turner that have the advantage of tires. So, man, we keep looking at that top 4 for the winner, but the winner might come from further on back in the field. We just got to watch how it plays out over these last 21 laps.
We'll find out. The 39 of Chase Cabry brings Cole Cabry on the outside of row number 1 to the green flag. The 51 struggles getting up through the gears, and it stacks up the 96 and the 55. It does thrust the number 98 of Presley Sora to 2nd place.
That's what he needed.
Cabry is on the inside, is going to hold on for 3rd. Nick Olson in the Grit Esports Chevrolet. He's come out of nowhere. Remember the pit road struggles that he had earlier on in tonight's race. He has overcome the challenges, battle on the inside, and that door is absolutely shut to Presley Sora.
And at what point is Presley going to use the fender to try to get by? He was such a gentleman earlier on in the race when these two battled it out over the probably 15 laps for the lead. Presley could not get by and maintain the lead. over Chase Cabry, as now Cole Cabry coming to the inside. He wants to be a factor in this one. Nearly door slamming Presley coming off of 2 down the backstretch as they settle things out into 3. Colin back there in 4th as it is on now, ladies and gentlemen. 19 to go at the line, and we might just have 19 lead changes from here on out.
Turn 4, Josh Slate. And caution is out again. A big hit to the back bumper, the 31, Matthew Kent.
Question right away is it looks like Slate is going to get that fired and rolled away, but how far did Bailey Turner get up in that quick little run there? As we are watching the replay coming down the backstretch, we see Turner exiting the screen right there. Actually, Slate is under Turner, as it looks like he's just going to walk it sideways through the corner, nip the apron. Looks like Ford Martin got a piece of that as we get sideways and a big hit from the 31. But we're under caution once again is the main story here with 19 to go from Chicagoland.
Here's a look on board with the 07 of Ford Martin as Slate gets loose in front of him. Not much that Martin can do but try and hop on the brakes, but even then that's not enough to get out of harm's way, so he gets a piece of the incident, and around goes the number 01 car, and then the 31 just slams into the back bumper of him. We do have drivers on pit road. Ronnie Osmer is one of them, so is Mike Fisher, Nick Olson, Alex Monteferrante in the 79. So they're all coming in for fresh rubber at this stage of the race. 18 laps to go.
Yep.
And for Bailey Turner, Darren, this is not good news. He does not want to see these frequent yellows at all.
Correct. Bailey's up to 7th though, so there is going to be some padding between him and these guys that have tires. But this is exactly when we talked to Ford Martin earlier when he wanted to take that last set of tires. He stays out on the track despite that last contact, running 10th. But now we've got another strategy. Kenneth, is there now a 3rd tire strategy that's come into play in this one?
There might be. So
man, I love this.
3 different tire strategies at the end of this race from Chicagoland, and we'll see where they sort of get out in all of this, because, I mean, you look at the drivers that are on pit road or just came out of it, as a matter of fact. Michael Fisher, he's been hanging around the top 10 all night long. Really good driver, but not sure if he's had the pace to outblast the guys at the front right now. The same goes for Nick Olson, who's been battling some demons all night long. Alex Monteferrante has seen some shining moments, but he also has not been a heavy hitter tonight. The tires might lift them over the hump, but again, it's just all about how they handle it and if more cautions come out. Now, that's the biggest question, because we're seeing cautions come out more frequently than we have all night long.
So Bailey Turner's up to 7th with quicker, faster tires. We got a report that Colin Fern in 4th actually grazed the wall coming out of 4 to the line when they were getting that caution. So he, you know, Colin might have just narrowed that car up a little bit, make it a little slicker coming through the air. So he's still in 4th, but the top 4 maintain position through that last little run. Look at guys like Leighton Sabile, though. That's a name that we have not really talked about all night long since he lost out on some pit strategy. They're about 40 laps into the race, but he's back up there. Bailey Turner with the fresh tires. Man, this is going to be a shootout.
When he got slammed from the front bumper, the rear bumper rather, on the 25 entering pit road, had the incident there, and fell back through the field. He's now in the possibility of finishing inside the top 5. Sibilia, again, a former winner here at Chicagoland. He was the winner last time we were here back on February 6th, roughly about 5 months ago. So Leighton Sabile is looking to go 2 in a row here in Joliet, Illinois. He's got hefty competition, though, right in front of him. Chase Cabry has been able to hold on to the lead. Presley Sora in 2nd, Cole Cabry 3rd, Colin Fern in 4th. And like we said, Sabile rounding out the top 5. We should get a restart inside 15 laps to go. I believe the iRacing official pace truck will have its lights turned off by the time we get to the start-finish line. And another topic that we haven't discussed all too much, Darren, over this race, the sun is setting. The track is cooling down. We had a high of 128 on the track temperature around the time that we began this race and somewhat in qualifying, but now it has dropped to 94 degrees. A little more grip on these old tires despite their age.
Little bit faster right when you want to be a little bit faster, and the show is just going to get better over these last 15 hopefully green flag laps, and of course 3 green white checkers. We've got the opportunity for that. I doubt that's going to come into play tonight, but you never know. Here on Monday Night Racing earlier this season at Daytona, we did go all 3 overtimes before we were able to finish this one out. Looks like that 2-hour time limit will also not come into play, so we are looking at running the full 133 laps tonight, 200 miles here from Chicagoland, and it is going to be an exciting finish. I can guarantee you that. Let's see how that damage plays out on Colin Fern's car. Let's see if either Presley or Colin can beat the Cabri boys, or if a contender from back in the pack with a fresher set of tires can get it. Again, I keep saying it, but it is going to be a heck of a 15-lap shootout here from Chicagoland.
Highest runner on the freshest tires, Michael Fisher. Inside the top 15, Bailey Turner on fresher tires, and the guys in front, he rolls off from P number 7 as Chase Cabri and Presley Sora in row number 1 lead us back to the green with 15 to go.
Turner lagged back a little bit, but it's not going to be that much of an advantage, as it looks like Chase Cabri is going to lead Cole Cabri into 1. Presley Sora not giving up anything on the outside, though. He's going to have the momentum coming down the backstretch, trying to get back to second place.
And the 98's going to hold on to that P2 spot for a moment. The Cabri's trying to lock up the top 2 as Bickford looks to the inside. Caution out again, and this time it's Nick Olson. The Grit Esports Chevrolet finds trouble. He brings Steve Alfont with him. And right behind the scoring pylon on that camera view in the back straightaway, Nick Olson gets involved in a caution. 14 laps to go. This started with 4 wide action, and it was Joseph Gregory who slid up the track in turn 2, got into the 24, who then gets into Josh Slate. Brings a couple of more drivers with him on the chase for turn 3.
Man, I guess I can maybe eat my words. I said I don't think we're going to need all 3 green-white checkers to finish this one out, but the way these guys have been running over the last handful of laps, I'm hoping we get just a solid green flag run like we did through the middle stage of this race and let the guys sort it out up front. Nick Olson there, though, he was running up front as a part of that top 5 or 6 there in the late going, pitted for tires, though, and really looks all for naught as he gets caught up in this one.
It looks like a trade that is rather tough for the 24s. There's Steve Alfont. A couple of others getting into incidents. We have drivers on pit road. The leaders are in. Looks like Chase Cabri and Presley Sora stayed out, but Cole Cabri is leading a pack of cars in.
Wow. So what are we up to, like 5 different tire strategies now, Kenneth? We kept talking about 1 or 2 throughout the race, then it added a 3rd, and now I feel like we're up to about 5 as these rash of late race cautions have really opened up the door for different strategies. Chase Cabri still out on the track. Presley Sora now up to 2nd, solidly in 2nd, and now the tires are really going to come into play. Bailey Turner with fresher tires up to 5th without even having to pass anybody on the track, as these guys will come out of the pits with fresher tires, to include Gary Sexton, it looked like him, as they hover in the just outside the top 10 in what are they running, 13th on back?
Yeah, pretty much. And what I was about to mention, Darren, was the trade-off when you get fresh tires is that you drop track position, you get stuck in that hornet's nest. Nick Olson was a driver on fresh tires before that caution. Gets caught up in a bad situation. He gets into a yellow, and his race theoretically is over when it comes down to the race win. Colin Fern, Cole Cabri, Gary Sexton, all these drivers that just came in, they're going to be around 13th on back, top 15 Hornets Nest racing, where it's usually 3 and 4 wide off of the restarts. So that is going to be chaotic, and for them, they have to tread the waters lightly with 13 laps to go, which is going to deduce probably to around 11 laps to go when we get the restart. Looks like lights are still on, so maybe 10 laps to go when we get the green flag.
I'll tell you who these cautions are really benefiting, though, and those are the guys that are still out on old tires, right? Like the first, second, or what, really 1st through 4th at this point. Bailey Turner, though, looking good, but man, if we keep getting these cautions, he can't flex those tires on anybody else out on the field, and if we keep wrecking going into 1 or 2 or down the backstretch without really any green flag racing, we're just going to run laps under caution, and it doesn't matter how bad your tires are under caution, you're still going to maintain position.
Yeah, that's 100% true. So we have all of these strategies unfolding. Bailey Turner has suffered some poor luck because he wants this race to go green. He has not gotten it from the racing gods. Chase Cabry, Presley Sora, all of them at the front. They are enjoying the fact that we continue to get these yellows and the laps continue to wind down. Now we do have 3 green-white checkered attempts to extend this race if needed. So this race is not going to be over yet if cautions continue to fly. But one thing that I've also noticed, Darren, is that we're going to have a new race winner. No doubt about it if James Bickford does not win this race. Bickford has 2 of them this season. Corey Heim is unfortunately not in attendance of the BST 200 from Chicagoland. Look at Chase Cabry looking for his first win since January 9th, season 6 of the Pro Series with the Super Late Models at Richmond. Presley Soares looking for his first win since the ARCA car at Daytona race on January 16th. Lane Sabile is looking for his first win since February 6th right here at Chicagoland. Bailey Turner looking for his first career MNR win. DJ Cummings looking for a win of his own, which would be career win number 3. So many storylines with a 10 lap to go restart.
Man, this is what I love. Like, everybody knew that Truex was just going to win the race at Loudon today, right? Like, I have no idea who is going to win this one. There are so many variables running through my mind right now on just cautions and tires and aggressiveness of drivers. And where is Colin Fern? And where is Presley Sora? And how good and fresh are those tires for Bailey Turner in 5th? Man, you could have taken my money and just like let me not watch the end of that Cup race today, and I knew who was going to win. At this point, I wouldn't put a safe wager on anybody on the lead lap at this point. Incredible racing.
You never know what's going to happen. The parity is real. Just an update on the fresh tire cars. Cole Cabry and Colin Fern, they roll off in row number 7, 13th and 14th. We'll keep an eye on those 2 cars when we get the green flag with 10 laps to go from Chicagoland Speedway.
It's like Presley is going to press the issue here going into 1. Chase Cabry, though, able to eke out the lead at this point, but it looks like Presley will have the run up top. Will Chase be able to close the door on him? No, he doesn't. Presley with the lead, but then Leighton Sabile looking for a little bit of a draft. He ducks low down into 3 and 4, and we've got him 2 by 2 through the top 4 here at Chicagoland with 9 to go.
Sabile had some pressure there in the form of the 29. We're almost 3 wide for the lead. Cabry goes down to the apron before turn 1. Sabile dives in for P1. Sora's going to look through the middle. We're 3 wide.
3 wide for the lead. And we're looking at 4 wide for the lead on the backstretch. No, it's going to be James Bickford pushing one of the Cabry boys right now as they fan out, and it is still Chase Cabry holding the lead off that push off James Bickford's bumper. We're 3 wide for second, and Sabile sideways. Holy cow, how did he save that thing?
I'm not sure, but he's going to keep it straight. He is still forced in the middle, 3 wide, because here is Bailey Turner, finally with a green flag run to note of fresh tire car. That's up there is the number 51 of Cole Cabry. We're 4 wide for 3rd. Fisher's in the wall.
What incredible racing is Turner trying to make those tires work for him as Sora's now fallen all the way back to 6th. He's a blanket behind the leaders, though. And here comes James Bickford. We talked about a new winner tonight. Bickford looking to deny us that right as he is up to 2nd right now, tracking down Cabry. He's looking for the lead in 1.
Presley Sora got absolutely freight trained, and now here comes James Bickford, the Charlotte Phoenix Chevrolet, to the inside for the lead. Cabry tries to block off Sabile's run on the backstretch, and it will not work, in the 39 drops to 4th place. Here comes the 30 way up on the outside lane. James Bickford sees 6 laps to go.
Boy, they are sideways here at Chicagoland, just gunning for the lead at this point. Sabile looking for running room after that incredible save, but it is all James Bickford out front. Michael Fisher looking to track him down right now, but right now, James Bickford looking for his 3rd win on the season with 5.5 laps to go here from Illinois.
He's trying to sweep the first 2 races of the Gen 4 series as Ronnie Osmer finds himself in the middle, 3 wide, a bit of contact with Cole Cabry, who is still the highest running driver on the freshest set of tires. He does still have time. It's a slow but sure progression. We'll keep an eye on the 51. Colin Fern now up to 9th. Lead still in the hands of James Bickford. Michael Fisher trying all that he can to get in clean air, get a big run out of turn 2 as he strives for his first ever Monday Night Racing win.
At this point, I don't know if the tires are going to be that much of an advantage if we don't get another caution. Bailey Turner's been stymied in 4th place. He's only been able to pick up 1 position after we came out of that caution. Intense racing, though, as Turner goes just a little bit sideways coming out of 4. Sibile in 3rd as Bickford leads another one. We're into 1 with the Charlotte Phoenix driver in the 29.
The 5 car somehow was able to keep that Chevrolet straight, but he is all over the place here at Chicagoland. The 55 of Ronnie Osmer on the inside, door to door, 2 rows deep. They are still tussling for 3rd. Cole Cabry on the fresh tires now has clean air, Darren, and that's going to be dangerous for the top 2. 3 to go this time.
Yeah, only 3 to go right now, and the battle up front is looking like not much of a battle as Bickford airing it out at this point. Will Cole Cabry and those fresh tires have enough time to track these guys down? It's all going to depend on how well these 2 guys in front start battling each other, and if they get side by side, will Cole Cabry have enough time to close in with just 2 to go here from Chicago?
Remember the Charlotte race to start this Gen 4 series where Cole Cabry took the lead and all of a sudden dropped it down to the apron and left the race. We could have been in a situation where Cole Cabry could have won that race at Charlotte, but he backed out, and it was one of the biggest what-ifs of this summer series. Now he has a chance to confirm that he is a driver to be reckoned with. He closes in on Michael Fisher, that time through 1 and 2, and a look on board with James Bickford as he sees what's coming.
And I think he's going to need a caution, though. He's still 2/10 off of Fisher for 2nd as we are coming to the white here at Chicagoland. James Bickford knows how to win these things, and he's looking for his 3rd of the summer tonight as he's going to take the white here at Chicagoland. He's got a half a second lead over Fisher as Cole Cabry's coming, but I think he's going to run out of time.
He is now within half a second. He's got a big run in turns 1 and 2, but he's going to have one more opportunity in the final 2 corners to catch up to the Charlotte Phoenix Chevrolet, who won at Charlotte in the first Gen 4 race off of fuel strategy and on tire strategy, looking for his 3rd Monday Night Racing Summer Series win. Final chance for Cole Cabry, and it is washed away. Charlotte Phoenix gets their 3rd win of the MNR summer season. James Bickford wins the Bryant Technologies 200.
Well, I talked about sure bets earlier today with Martin Truex in that Cup race, and who would bet against James Bickford in this summer series this year? 3 wins in 4 races, and he seemingly comes from nowhere to win the thing. He was backwards at one point on a different tire strategy, able to pull out what really was a snoozer of a finish, winning by almost half a second here at Chicagoland. Great win once again, James Bickford. Let's not talk about crowning him just yet, but let's start maybe polishing that crown for him here in the Summer Series.
He might just become a permanent member of the booth post-race every week. 3 wins this season. For the driver of the 29, Charlotte Phoenix is absolutely buzzing.
And different wins every time for him, too. Charlotte was on a fuel strategy. Daytona was a last 100-yard pass over Dale Earnhardt. And now tonight, he just uses the tire strategy to go from 5th to 4th over that last 10-lap run and seal another one here at Daytona, or I'm sorry, at Chicagoland. The Stanley knife of winner situations we're seeing from James Bickford in that 29 Charlotte Phoenix car.
You have to give credit to Cole Cabry on fresh tires, who did his dearest to try and catch up to Bickford in those closing laps, but he ran out of time. James Bickford wins the Bryant Technology 200 from Chicagoland. We have post-race coverage and interviews with the podium drivers on the other side.
Mach 10. Let's give Mach 10.
You're cleared for takeoff.
FrontStretch.com, providing up-to-date news, analysis, and commentary on all the latest in the world of motorsports. Check out Front Stretch YouTube page for post-race content after the checker flag waves for most NASCAR events. giving you up-close interviews with your favorite drivers and the stories that matter each weekend. For the best seat of the track and the best view on the web, visit frontstretch.com.
Request permission to engage with task conducted. Smash. Over.
The sun is set here in Joliet, Illinois, as we close off the second race of the Gen 4 Tour for the Monday Night Racing Summer Series presented by Mach10 Digital. In the Bryant Shock Technology 200, James Bickford is on his way to the bank to collect his third race win of the summer season. Cole Cabrey finishes just behind in second. Maybe needed at least a lap or more to get there on fresh rubber. Michael Fisher ran a phenomenal race in those closing laps and comes home in third, his first podium of the summer season. Colin Fern, also on fresh rubber with Cole Cabrey, is able to finish in fourth place here tonight, and a top 5 by Lane Sabile in the 25. A nice comeback for him after pit road issues earlier in the race. Ronnie Osmer in the 55 is P6. That's where he started tonight's race. DJ Cummings as the biggest mover tonight, 23rd on the starting grid as he comes home in 7th. Bailey Turner sees the strategy unfold in the wrong way for him as he finishes in 8th. Mark Rabilis for Crypto Autosport is in 9th place, and rounding out the top 10, Gary Sexton, Darren Denman in his unusual setup.
Yeah, with his unusual setup, and we'll give a shout out to him because the next time we're going to see him behind the wheel is going to be a real-life Dodge Caravan steering wheel as he's in a demolition derby for me on Thursday night. So Gary Sexton having a lot of fun this week in Pennsylvania. But we'll get to the rest of the teen finishers at this point. Alex Monteferrante, I can't do it as well as you do, Kenneth, but I tried. He comes home in 11th and 79. Chase Cabrey, it all fell apart in a big way for him in the late going. Rounds out the top 12. Brandon Brown is 13th. Kent in 14th. Steve Alfont, after a eventful night, is in the wall and involved in more than a handful of cautions. He's 15th. League owner Ford Martin, 16th. Presley Sora, another just slip at the end of the race. He's last car on the lead lap, 25 seconds back in 17th. Hart Pence was in the wall a couple times, along with Art Reimer in a handful of cautions as well. And our boy in the number 20, Mr. Gregory, rounded out the top 20.
Nick Olson for Grit Esports found trouble late in the race. He comes home 21st. Josh Slate also involved in multiple accidents tonight. He's 22nd, 15 laps down. Matt Stonick in the 41 great start to the race, but then he got hooked coming out of turn 2, and that was race over. He is 23rd. Christopher Tate in the 42 had a great qualifying effort to begin, but the race did not go his way. Ended up disconnecting from the race. He is 51 laps down, 24th. Mario Miranda also suffered a poor fate at the end of the race. 25th, he comes home. Landon Polinsky is 26th place. Davey Hazard 27th, and then 28th and 29th to round out our field. Ray Richer in the 57 and the 69 of Jason Grafton in his first ever Monday night racing start. Well, James Bickford, I'm sure that you're probably going to become, like I said, a permanent member of the booth at this point, because you continue to pick up win after win after win. It's your 3rd win of the season. I think the first question is, can anyone stop you in this series?
Man, I'll tell you, I'm loving these Gen 4 stock cars. They are super awesome. They're a ton of fun to drive, and it just fits right into my driving style, where you're kind of up on the right rear and you got to balance the right side tires and how they wear out. So it's been going really well. The start of the race was met with a little bit of problems. Had some PC problems. So my first lap ever on this combination was in qualifying, and then just tried to pick it up lap by lap as we went. Definitely made the entire race harder on myself. Made some mistakes. I think probably could have been a little bit more conservative with the clear in front of Michael, and then unfortunately just really messed up all of my strategy when I got in the back of Brandon. So I apologize to Brandon. That was totally my fault. Just misjudged the closing rate and had a little bit of a mess up. But at the end of the day, we were able to get the win and take the Charlotte Phoenix Next Level Racing ride to victory lane. So.
I love that you
do that with flying colors. Darren, go ahead.
I love that you talk about the strategy, James. That's something we've talked about all night long. It seemed like guys were out there on different tire strategies. You know, it seems it was like a 2-race battle out there with the different tire strategies. But then at the end of the night, you said, well, I messed up my entire strategy, and you were still able to get the win. And again, just coming really from 5th to 1st on that last restart. Incredible run there. And just a great run. Just compliments to you on your drive tonight. Again, not really showing up in qualifying as we've seen you done all season long, but again, you get it done in the race, and you're now 3 for 4 on the season. Incredible run once again for you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And yeah, it's just getting off of work and hopping on the sim, and unfortunately just don't have the time to put a single lap in. So the super speedways are nice because you don't really have to practice that much for it. But when it comes to the Gen 4 stuff, it's definitely advantageous to be in the front. So I just hope to put it as far into the top 10 with that being my first lap. But yeah, the strategy was really interesting because I think we're leading the cycle for what I was doing. I know there was a lot going on that green flag run, but once I got into Brandon, it's like half the field decided to pit and half the field decided, yeah, we're gonna stay out. And I decided to stay out because I had to repair some damage from an accident that happened on the backstretch. Repaired the damage, and then I just kind of waited and decided when would be the best time to grab tires because I just left myself one set, and it just worked out for the best.
It works out 150%. And let's talk about the competition you were facing in those closing laps. Of course, Chase Cabry, who had led the race for a little while before that run to the finish. Lane Sabile, Presley Sora, Cole Cabry, all those guys around you. Did you feel any sort of pressure while trying to get through them? And how chaotic was it behind the wheel from your perspective?
Oh, absolutely. And it was chaotic. I knew that so when we restarted 4th at the very end there, my biggest concern was Cole and Colin pitting under caution, grabbing the set of tires. I thought maybe they could make a run and they would have the freshest tires in the field, but I kind of knew it was a battle between myself and Leighton. So I knew if I could get by Leighton and hold the lead, then we would be fine. But yeah, and then I wasn't even sure. Michael Fisher just popped out of nowhere and he was hanging there for a while and had to block a little bit of arrow. Had to put my car right in front of his in turn 1 and 2 because he was absolutely killing me. But yeah, it was a lot of pressure. I saw Cole coming, and I think if he had 5 more laps, he probably would have got me. But the race finished at 133, so it was advantageous for us.
3rd race win in this Monday Night Racing Summer Series. You head off to Talladega Super Speedway next Monday night. Any thoughts about that on trying to go 2 in a row for the 2nd time in a row?
I mean, we'll try to survive and do our best. Got a top 5 at New Atlanta, so the super speedways are treating us very nicely right now. I don't know how long that will last, considering my record. But yeah, everything's been going fantastic this season. And again, I can't thank Charlotte Phoenix enough. And it's been an absolute blast running the Coke Series team and putting all this together and putting the brand out there. And then, of course, Next Level Racing now getting me 3 wins in this chassis. So everything's going fantastic, and I look forward to Talladega next week.
On fire right now in this MNR Summer Series, and I'm sure Charlotte Phoenix is absolutely going insane after the win here tonight from Chicagoland. Of course, James, we appreciate the time as always. A big congratulations on the win here in Chicagoland, and wishing you the best of luck next Monday night. We'll let you go celebrate.
Thank you. See you then.
James Bigford, still unstoppable as he wins tonight. And the Bryant Shock Technology 200 from Chicagoland. Let's talk to the second place finisher. That is Cole Cabry, who was a couple of laps short to the win, Darren Denman.
Cole started second on the field tonight, finished second. What more did you need there? We've been debating here in the post-race. Said one more lap you would have got him. We said maybe 3 more laps. We've heard 5 more laps. What did it feel like from the driver's seat that you were going to need to track him down there?
No, it's hard to say. He had a really good pace going, but maybe 2-3 laps just to get to him, and probably about 5 to set him up and get the pass completed in a clean way. Maybe 2 if I wanted to rough him up, but no, I just need a few more laps there at the end. Maybe pit a little earlier. Just had some things play out a little better for myself.
We've been watching the strategy really play out all night long. Did you go into that race with a flexible strategy, or did you kind of expect the different tire strategies? And really, how did that play out in the long run for you? I mean, it was a great finish. You had a fast car all night long from qualifying on. So how did that really play out for you? You seemed like you were the only one that really got that really great finish at the end out of the cars that were contenders all night long.
Yeah, I had Chase in my ear telling me a strategy that he was going to short pit and stuff, and I don't know. I wanted to do something different. I thought Chase was faster, so in order for me to beat him, I needed to do a different strategy and end up somewhere different along at the end of the race. So, like I said, I really didn't have a certain strategy I was going with. It was just kind of go with the flow with the rest of the cars and see where it lies.
Love that. Just intense racing all night long. Looking ahead to Talladega next week. What are you looking forward in that one? What kind of strategy can you really plan for at a race like Talladega coming up in 1 week from tonight?
The last 2 super speedway races I've ended up just destroyed. So I'd like to finish it. I don't know. I tried to hold him back one time at Daytona, and then that didn't work. I tried running up to the front at Atlanta, and that didn't work. So like I said, I mean I don't even know at this point. Kind of just like I did this one, maybe go with the flow and see where everything ends up again.
Got to go with the flow. Got to love that from Cole Cabry. The gloss black race car with the chrome rims. Got to love everything about that. Cole, thanks very much for your time. The great second place run tonight. Look forward to seeing you in victory lane, hopefully next week at Talladega. Have a great week until then, bud.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
So that is Cole Cabry, driver of the number 51 on the fresh tires, but just a little short to the race win, and a great finish regardless. And a great finish as well from Michael Fisher. Michael, I cannot believe what you just did in those closing laps. You made it 4 wide at one point at a turn 4. You were ripping the top. You made it a wild race to the finish.
Yeah, it was a really fun race. I think it's probably one of the best combos we've run, the Gen 4s here. I think Bickford, he had about 2 laps more worn tires than I did, but by the time I got to him, I just ran out of time. He was a little bit better there, I think, but it was a really fun race.
And talk about strategy. That was the conversation all night long, where tires were all over the place on drivers pitting on certain laps. For you, where did you find yourself in that entire field in terms of the tires and how you felt you're going to perform based on that?
Yeah, if you look back at the last race we ran here with the trucks in the wintertime, Leighton won that race, I'm pretty sure, and he short pitted like every single time the window opened. So I kind of went into it with that same idea. So that second window, when it opened, it was like lap 55. Me and a couple others, we were the first ones down. And it cycled to us leading that group by, about half the track. And it didn't work out with the caution, unfortunately. But you never know what you're going to get in these races, and that's what makes them entertaining.
Well, it's a phenomenal finish. Top 3 here from Chicagoland Speedway. Super Speedway Series is up next at Talladega Super Speedway. Any thoughts on the biggest and baddest track in all of NASCAR next Monday?
I think the changes they made as far as the incident limit and stuff, I think that's helped a lot. Atlanta was pretty fun, so hopefully it'll be more of the same.
All right, well, we certainly wish you the best of luck moving forward. Michael, great race all the way to the end. It was a lot of fun to watch from the broadcast perspective. Amazing P3 finish, and we'll see you at Talladega next Monday.
All right, thanks, guys.
So that is Michael Fisher, driver of the number 30. I believe that's his best finish of the Summer Series by far. So that 30 car made it a race all the way to the end. But the focus again, Darren, is on that number 29 who completes yet again another great Gen 4 race. Charlotte Motor Speedway didn't disappoint. We saw the strategy. We saw the great racing from the front to the rear of the field. We saw a bit of chaos in there as well. Tonight, no different. Strategies in 3-4 different places sometimes. Racing all the way to the stripe without any mercy, and they kept it clean through all of it. I think, Darren, Gen 4 Series probably is here to stay, and I said it under the break. If we don't see this car make an appearance or two in Season 7 of the MNR Pro Series, personally, I'm going to be upset.
I mean, just the fact that we get 2 more of these races in this Summer Series is just incredible with this Gen 4 car. They've been both, I mean, every race this entire Summer Season, or Summer Series we're halfway through, has been incredible for different reasons, different compelling storylines throughout, and it's only going to continue next week at Talladega, Kenneth. I'm looking forward to it. And I really hope the fans are out there too. Great storylines developing through the season. Can James Bickford keep it going at Talladega, or one of these really hungry, very talented drivers be able to break the stranglehold that he has had on the series? Hey, there's only one way to find out. We're going to get that next week at Talladega.
Bickford and Charlotte Phoenix looking for their 4th MNR Summer Series win. Boy, have they put up a season of the ages. They're going to try and continue that hot streak, but we will take a week off from Gen 4 racing. We'll be Super Speedway racing, like you said, Darren, next Monday, July 24th. So same time, same place, 8 p.m. Eastern on the main Podium Esports Twitch channel. And then we will have coverage of the 3rd race of the Gen 4 Series in California. Auto Club Speedway is our next track for the Gen 4 machines. That will be on your way July 31st. Again, same time and same place here on the Podium Esports main Twitch channel. That would do it for us. So the Bryant Shock Technologies 200 and our coverage for Ford Martin and everyone at Monday Night Racing. Paul Sutton and Michael Hall in race control. For Gary Sexton and John Theodore at Podium Esports. For our camera builder, Dougie Beard. Our overlay builder, Michael Hall. For Cameron Armadon on Podium Esports social media. And for our crew on the show tonight, our producer, Ryan Bauer, and my colleague in the booth, Darren Denman. My name is Kenneth Bueno, saying thank you so much for watching our coverage from Chicagoland. We'll turn it over to the FrontStretch.com post-race show with Jared Haas and Trey Lyle.
Welcome on into the Front Stretch post-race show. I am your host, Jared Haas, joined by Trey Lyle. A little bit of introduction about myself. Obviously, Brandon Huff not here racing this weekend. I'm the author of NASCAR Mailbox Weekly video series, and we have Trey Lyle, the host of our Happy Hour podcast, here to break down the action at the Chicagoland Speedway halfway through the season. And it's James Bickford's season to lose. Already won 3 of the 4 races this season, Trey, and it seemed like it was tires early on because in the middle of the race, Bickford was in trouble.
Yeah, absolutely, Jared, and it was definitely a battle of strategy, a battle of late race cautions with multiple cautions late. For Bickford, he had a lot of adversity in this one, got into multiple accidents, had to deal with, the differing strategy. And that final restart, he was able to kind of get the lead and control on the final laps of the race and get the win. So credit to him. Credit to a couple other guys getting a great finish. And it was a fun race to watch. It was a wild race to watch. It was hard to follow at a lot of points when you had 2 to 3 different tire strategies. So it was a fun race.
Yeah, we had a pretty simple strategy going forward. We had the Colin Ferd strategy versus the Presley Sora strategy, and the racing was arguably great throughout too. Side-by-side battles you had right at the beginning and right at the end too. And like I said, with the tire wear in this perspective too, with the limited tires, how much do you think that you were scrambling at the end of this race with those flurry of cautions that came to lease too? What do you think that would have been the best thing to do if you were in the driver's seat? Because at the end of the day,
tires won late Stabile last season in the Truck Series, and now it's like tires were the big thing, especially with the wear that happened.
Yeah, I think if you anticipate there are going to be more cautions, you need to anticipate, saving maybe not pitting as early. And I think the guys who pitted towards the later end ultimately kind of won out because the multiple cautions kind of allowed them to pass a couple cars, catch up, and then they reset the field. Pass a couple cars, reset the field. So it was definitely something interesting to see the different strategies. I was fascinated by it. And what were your thoughts, Jared, as we got into all of this?
It was hard to keep track of, simply enough, too.
Yeah.
And I mean, at the end of the day, that's why they're paying the big bucks. They were mentioning, you think these people are just turning left, going fast? No, these people are strategizing, and strategizing pays off big. And with, like I said, having those runs, too. Now we're going to have come in DJ Cummings, probably the harder charge of the race. He started 23rd and finished in 7th position. DJ Cummings, do you hear us?
Yes, sir.
Awesome.
Sure do.
DJ, how do you keep track of this tire strategy at Chicagoland Speedway? This is a type of track that's very abrasive, and you see a lot of tire fall off, and you want to be with the driver with the best tire at the end of the race.
That's tough. Honestly, there were a million different tire strategies going on that I got very confused. At the very beginning, my friend Matt Stolnick and I were trying to figure out what was going to be the best way to go about it and how far could we stay out on tires. I think the first run was about I think it was like 25 laps, and then after that we got that long run for a little while, and then you started to see people were like, oh, do we want to pit early and then think we get tires earlier? I was more a fan of wait it out and see if you can get the late caution like we did, and then take tires and go about it that way. More cautions than tire sets, unfortunately. So you had to basically pick and choose which caution you were thinking might have been the last one. In my case, I took my last set of tires probably, I think it was lap 107. So we had about 25 laps, and I was thinking, okay, some of these guys that had stayed out, probably about 10 cars in front of us, were on older tires, thinking like, okay, we will probably have a shot to get up to the front if we stay green. We didn't stay green. So at that point, you're just like, you just play the cards you're dealt and try and stay where you are. The last 10 laps, we were kind of just holding on for dear life. A top 5 would have been really good. A top 10 is always good in my book, especially given where we started, I blew my qualifying lap badly. Coming out of turn 2, I almost binned it. So just to make it up plus 13 after, I guess plus 16 from where we started, I'll call that a win in our book. I think that bumps us up pretty high in the Gen 4 point standings.
DJ, talk about all those, restarts. You kind of touched on it going into the tire strategy. It felt like there was, today was the race of cautions breed cautions, and managing those late race restarts. How was it from the driver's seat? And you talk about hanging on there late. It's got to be kind of difficult when it's multiple heat cycles on those tires.
Yeah, it's not that bad. The outside line, I think, was a little bit better because you were able to hold it into the gas a little bit more. When you were down low, you kind of had to blip the throttle a little bit more just to keep it down there, or else if you put too much gas into it, you were going to wash up and take everybody out. So the outside, I thought the outside lane was what I thought was the preferred one. I think on the initial jump, you didn't really get each lane didn't really get a big advantage, but I feel like the outside was a little bit better, where you were able to hold it into the gas a little bit more. You could see that a lot, especially when you had a lot of guys that were on older tires in front of you, and you would see a lot of guys coming into one. If they got the run, they would either split the middle or try and go high to get the speed run coming off of turn 2, where they could get the run down the back. So comparatively to some restarts that we've had in other MNR races for the last 3 years, this was not bad at all. It could have been way worse.
Speaking of one of those older races, kind of comparing to last season, the trucks were run on the Chicagoland Speedway during this one of the last few races on last season's Monday Night Racing. How does the trucks compare to these, older body style cup cars or ARCA cars, as some people would call them? What's like the difference between racing people with that?
So racing the trucks at Chicago, it's all about throttle. You're never really you really don't use much brake unless you're way deep into the run to try and get the car stopped and painted on the bottom lane for the trucks. With the ARCA cars, you're using the brake basically every lap. How much depends on how fresh your tires are. I think for me, I was trying to, well, as you got later into the run, I felt like you were able to back the corners up a little, not really use more brake per se, but just back the corner up a little bit so you can get down to the bottom and then get back onto the gas a little bit sooner when your tires were a little bit older. With the trucks, it just runs super tight. With the Gen 4 ARCA cars, it runs really loose. Especially when you get onto those when your tires get old, because you still have all that power on your right foot, and you have to be very careful with how much you're putting down coming out of the corner, or else you're just going to slide the back out and totally ruin your race. In that case, so I prefer driving more with a loose car, because then it's easier to control it with your foot versus having to drive a tight race car, because then at that point you're like, well, if you push it too hard, you're just going up to the fence anyway.
DJ, we're at the halfway point of the season now. Obviously, 4 races done, 4 races left. Where do you want to see kind of your goals for these next 4 races, trying to build off this result?
Finished. The last the super speedway race at Atlanta was just bad luck. The past 2 super speedway races really were pretty rough. I thought the first one we had at Daytona, I was right there in the lead pack going into the last lap, and then just a bad block and get taken out, and gives us away a shot at a win. The Atlanta race, I feel like we were running top 5, top 10, actually more top 10 most of the race, and then just getting caught up in someone else's mess caused us 15 minutes worth of damage. It was still finished the race, but still it was not the hope we wanted. So just a lot of bad luck. So just more hoping for luck to turn around, at least on the super speedway side. The Gen 4 side, I think it's more of having the strategy play in our favor. I felt like with the Charlotte race that we had, the strategy didn't really play as well as I had hoped, because we had those last 30-40 laps go green, and we were kind of trying to play catch up, being trying to catch with someone else's wreck. And same thing with today, honestly, with all those cautions, it just threw the tire strategy up. I felt like when we were about like lap 80 or 90, I felt like we were in pretty good shape, because I felt we had that extra set of tires, thinking like, okay, maybe we get one more yellow, we're going to be in good shape, we'll fly by people if the last 30 laps go green. But when you throw another 6 or 7 yellows in the last 30 laps, it screws up the whole thing. So I think it's just more of things getting the right brakes and things going the right way. I feel like there's nothing that I don't think I've put myself in a bad spot in any of these situations that have caused me. It's just more of luck of the draw. So we'll see where it goes here these next 4 weeks. But feeling pretty good about how we're racing.
Well, enjoy the finish of 7th place, DJ. Thank you coming on for the post-race show. Like I said, best of luck to you for the rest of the season.
Thanks, Sam.
Thanks, guys. Good night.
This broadcast is brought to you by frontstretch.com, a site that Jared and I both work for. Make sure you check out all of our coverage, including great reactionary coverage from the race at Loudon. Obviously, MTJ getting the big win there as well. We also have wall-to-wall coverage of Monday Night Racing here as well, plus coverage of SRX coming up this week. We'll have great coverage at Pocono next weekend. Frontstretch.com, whether it's videos, interviews with drivers, great podcasts like I host, Happy Hour, Bring the Heat with Brian Nolan, Through the Gears of Betting podcast. If you're a Formula One fan listening to this, we do have the Pit Straight, obviously Stock Car Scoop.
which is a reactionary podcast to every race. And Jared mentioned it, our YouTube channel, youtube.com/frontstretch. He does the mailbag each week, answering your questions and all things NASCAR. Frontstretch.com. Best seat at the track and the best view on the web.
And now we're joined by Mario Morendo. I mean, this has been a very down, up, down day. You had that qualifying wreck, came up to the front, was battling with Colin Fern, and then unfortunately it unraveled off of turn 2. Just more summarize your day, because it was pretty hectic to say the least.
Yeah, it was like you said, hectic. I really felt like I probably could have gone pole, to be honest, in qualifying. I had a lot of speed in the center of 1 and 2 and was up on my delta, and all I knew, if I just got off the corner nice and did my 3 and 4 as I did in practice, I probably would have had a pole, but a car just got away. I couldn't save it. But starting from the rear, then it stopped me. I've been there several times in my career, and just try to play it smart, make my way through the field. Made a bad call on tire strategy, found myself getting swarmed on a green flag run, and then found myself back in the run again, and then got wrecked off the exit of 2, and yeah, the car was done for the day after that.
You touched on being on the wrong tire strategy. There were a lot of tire strategies. Jared and I could not follow them all. There were so many different strategies. Talk about that and the cautions throughout the race, where you were definitely on your toes in terms of deciding on when to pit, when not to pit, and it felt like it was definitely a tough decision throughout the race.
Yeah, beginning of when the tire strategy really started, I think lap 25, when half the field pitted, half the field didn't. After everyone pitted, I was like, this is definitely the wrong strategy. And as the green flag went on, I had to pit under green, and so did everyone else. I was kind of hoping for a lucky caution, and I just got passed, and I fell back to third, and I saw Preston Sorey and Cole Cabrey, the Cabrey brothers, were making their way through the field with fresher tires. And I was starting to get worried. I was like, I need a caution. A caution did come out, and I was third place when it happened. And then my luck came around. We pitted, and me and Colin Fern came out P11, P12, and we were in a good spot. We had fresher tires, and he capitalized that Colin Fern went all the way to the front as I got caught up in other things. So I really wish I went different, because I felt like I could have followed Colin Fern through the field and even passed him at the end as he got to the clean air.
I mean, obviously a tough race for you, but I still want to touch on some things that's still going up and up in your life. I saw one of your posts that you had. You went from go-karting just a couple years ago. Now you're doing the Legends cars. How has the climb been through the motorsports world with you with that? What's been some of the challenges you've faced, and what's one kind of your biggest successes so far in your career?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenges I've experienced is my age and money. I started racing late due to money. We didn't have the money to start when I was, as a kid. So I didn't start go-karting until 16, and I was racing kids, 13, 14 in my class, and it was kind of hard. Halfway through my first season karting, I had some decent finishes. I was like, maybe I did start too late. Maybe that thought really started creeping in my mind. But I finished out that season. It came down to a title decider at the very last race, and I ended up winning the championship in my very first season. And that helped a lot with motivation. So from there, we got into my second season of karting, and it wasn't a great season. I think it was championship's curse there. And we made a couple calls and a little bit of networking, and I got myself a test in an INX Legends car. And my first race in an INX event, I get a top 10. I think I finished 8th or 7th. And from there, we try to make as best funds meet to fund our own car, and we did. And now I have my own car under my own name and my family's name. And this season has been great. 2 starts, 2 wins. As long as I finish the race, I win. It's been 2 wins, 2 DNFs, and the most recent event, our car caught fire, which put us out for the whole weekend. We missed the entire weekend and still haven't really recovered from it, because it's an expensive sport, and if you don't have the backing behind you, you can only do so much yourself. Your family can only put so much into it. So now we've kind of called off the season, which I definitely don't want to do. I keep want to keep on racing. Like we've won so many times this year, and we really had a good chance at the championship as a rookie. But the best thing for us was to, call it, save our money, start reaching out to sponsors throughout the remaining 6 months we have before the start of next season.
Mario, you're halfway through your rookie season on, with Monday Night Racing, and obviously you've been very successful in the Sunoco Cup Series. Just talk about these first 4 races and where do you want to see improvement as we head down to the final stretch?
I think I just need better luck in these Gen 4 races. It's been rough. My first experience at MNR was being wrecked by a truck driver. I didn't see that one coming. And then, tonight I had a fast car again, was in the top 5, top 3. Got unlucky, wrecked out again. So if I can have the same luck as I do in the Super Speedway series that I've had in Monday Night Racing, I'll love to see it happen again next time we're in the Gen 4s. If I can do that, finish well in the Gen 4s like I do in the next gens, that I feel like I have a good chance by the end of the year to, put up a fight and finish relatively well in the point standings.
Now, we were talking beforehand, before we got on air, about the college esports program that's kind of started at where you're going, the Oklahoma University. Can you dive a little bit more in depth on that program, how that's kind of started, and how you've played a role into that program?
Yeah, so the funny thing is that I tried to start college racing when I was still in high school, which is a big no-no, but thankfully the guys at eNASCAR and NACE were super nice about it and didn't really care too much. But they announced it. iRacing and NASCAR announced the college series when I was a senior in high school, and I tried to run in it in the spring. It didn't happen, but over the summer, I reached out to OU. I said I'm an incoming student. I see y'all have an esports program. I see y'all don't have an iRacing program or any kind of racing program. Would y'all be interested in that? And thankfully, Mike at OU Esports is a huge motorsports fan. He was a mechanic when he was in the military, and he put me on board real fast. And as an incoming freshman, we started an iRacing program and entered our first events for eNASCAR. And from there, we gained a lot of traction, a lot of sponsor support, and OU Esports welcomed me with opening arms. They are the sweetest people ever. They give me so much support, and I couldn't do it without them. I couldn't have their logos on my car without them. They support me every event, if it's college or not college. They support my real life racing. They're just the nicest people. So yeah, heading into my sophomore year now, there's potentially more drivers coming aboard, more funding coming aboard, and we're planning on doing bigger things. And running their logos at Monday Night Racing is hopefully giving them more exposure to college racing on iRacing.
Mario, you touch on it, like, with esports and then obviously with the physical racing, like how has your skill set grown due to both? Like where is the crossover in terms of just like growing your overall driving skill, both the esports side and then obviously you want to do the actual racing side?
Yeah, iRacing game was a huge help in my career, and in more than one way. It definitely helped fine tune my basics of just braking and throttle control and like my turn in. And when I first started real life racing, it was kind of almost copy and paste. You did have to change some couple things, but the basics never changed. So the transition to real life was really easy, and I think it helped a lot. I'm a huge promoter at my local tracks for iRacing, for kids, who are young, and parents who are willing to front the money for a little sim rig for them. I think iRacing is a huge help, and it's also helped me with sponsors. I think half of my sponsors have come from iRacing itself. I make the sponsors and the connections in iRacing, and that's helped lead to real life racing and casual conversation. Like, oh yeah, I race in real life as well, and that piques their interest, and that's another conversation, and a sponsorship deal that's led out to help my real life racing as well.
Well, Mario, we've seen a lot of sim to reality drivers make it happen. And like I said, you're making your imprint so far so good with impressive runs. And best of luck to you in the endeavors for the rest of the Monday Night Racing season and in real life as well. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And if anyone's out there interested in hopping on a Legends car in the Midwest, please let me know. All my socials are under my name, just Mario Morindo on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Just give me a shout out and we'll get to talking.
Thank you. Now, Trey, we are halfway through this Monday Night Racing Summer Series. And we just got done with Chicagoland. We got Talladega Super Speedway with the Gen 6. Then we got Auto Club back with the Gen 4. Daytona 2007, August 7th. And then leading to Homestead Miami Speedway. Trey, what race are you looking more excited for? Because, I mean, for the Monday Night Racing people to put on this schedule is pretty impressive. I mean, it seems like a dream schedule between the Gen 4 and the Super Speedways as well.
All four. But seeing I love the Gen 4 schedule. It's the Gen 4 is obviously, that's where I grew up. Like the first races I'd go to was the Gen 4 cars in NASCAR, and seeing those old school bodies was so cool to see. And I would have to say Auto Club because I think won't exist anymore. So, it's so cool to see that track still preserved in iRacing, and the fact that they're going to race here. And if it's anything like the race it was today, it's going to be a fun one when they get back to Auto Club in a couple weeks. I think I did watch a little bit of Atlanta, and and that was an interesting race, obviously with the drafting style, but it should all be fun.
Well, I mean, like I said, we've already had this much drama, and we're only halfway through. And speaking of league owners, I gave him a little compliment in here, too. We're going to be talking with one of the founders, Ford Martin, enjoying a drink post-drink celebration. Ford, it's been an interesting summer series. It's kind of a just quick, more fun. Here's 4 races on the Gen 4, and here's 4 races on super speedways with the next gen car. Halfway through, how are you feeling about the schedule? Are you like, is this meeting your expectations, exceeding them? What are your thoughts so far 4 races in?
I think right now, essentially for me, is and just really the league overall is just we made it clear to all of our drivers that this is going to be an experimental season, trying out some new rules. Obviously, I think some things like single car qualifying is a great addition. It's pretty fun. Gives every driver a little bit of their own, TV time, which is nice, which I think is great. So, and then I know we tried the choose cone the first race of the season, which was something that we tried and it didn't really work out the way we wanted it to. So, overall, I think there's some things that I like, things we don't like. But really, it's all about just trying to have fun with it. That's the main thing. I think you can get so caught up, and I think kind of what we've done in the past with MNR as far as trying to have these in-person championships, which has been great. It's been awesome, but when you're juggling a full-time job and also doing all these in-person championships and these events, and it gets a little tiring after a while, but I'm still proud of the work that we've kind of done overall. And like I said, this season was all about experimenting a couple things. And this season, October, for season 7, obviously this is just a summer season. Season 6 ended in this past February, and then season 7 will be in October for our 16 race schedule, which we're really excited about. And I think the experimenting with the car choice, the Gen 4, I think we'll see a lot of that next season.
Yeah, go into that decision a little bit. I was just saying, watching those Gen 4 cars, it brings me back to when, I first got into NASCAR, and those were the cars that I saw on the track. Why was that decision made to run the Gen 4 for the summer series?
Fun. I mean, it's fun. It's fun car. Let's be straight up. It's a fun race car, and I mean, you're really driving the car, and I think we at MNR, we've tried too many super speedway style racing, from Radicals of Texas to Miatas at Martinsville. I think we've kind of tried some really fun new combos. And I'm really excited. I think Gen 4s they're just, come on, they're fun race cars, and I think they're fun to watch. Obviously, we didn't have. I think we had a pretty good race tonight. I think a little bit was got a little messy toward the very end. But overall, I think it's just. I think a lot of it has to do with just a lot of people in the league. The new guys we brought in. That anybody can join because it was really an invite-only league, and this was open to the public. I think a lot of people are just really not as familiar with other drivers and kind of race styles and how they do. But I think overall, like the Gen 4s are going to make for a very. I think they're going to make for a very fun season, very fun car combo for next season.
I want to take a point on the attrition that you've kind of mentioned, and you adjusted this back where Daytona there was the fast report pairs, but after that race and the attrition that was overloaded at Daytona, you went to just no fast repairs at all. How have you seen that effect behind the wheel and as a league owner of just saying, hey, if you wreck your stuff, guess what? You're going to be out of the race. There's no fast repairs to fall back on. There's no aggressive, try to go in there. If you sail it down, you just fast repair it. You're good.
I tell you what, I love the decision going no fast repairs all the way until Atlanta when I got wrecked, and I really wish I had a fast repair. So that's where I wish I really had a fast repair. But I think it makes the racing, I think, better. I mean, I think at Daytona, it was just something where it's the first race of the year. Let's kind of see. We don't know how these guys race. We don't know who they are. I mean, we never really had like a race and race kind of see how these guys, operate. And we had that tonight, or we had that after the first race, and obviously it was not one of our best races. And now we're going to. I think now having no fast repairs really helps a lot. It helps the racing overall, and I think we kind of starting to at least somewhat understand how each other races. So I think it's something you had to do, and I'm pretty happy with.
Ford, obviously, first 4 races, you're at the halfway point. What are your thoughts as a whole? On this season so far, and what are your expectations for the Final 4?
Well, me as the driver, there's not really a lot of high expectations. It's just more finishing the race and not getting screwed at the very end. We had a really fast, Mach 10 digital Chevrolet tonight, and we had a really good strategy. And then at the very end, just kind of got I got left reared and then turned to Presley, unfortunately, with about going for 7th with about 3 to go. So. That's unfortunate, but I think for me as a driver, it's just not get kind of screwed in these races. I think that's just what it comes down to. And I think just for the league overall, is just really just improve some things and just kind of try out some different rules and experiment with a couple of things to really make the next season a lot of fun and make it more enjoyable and kind of see some guys that are new to MNR. A couple of these guys that were open to the public. This is kind of their opportunity to kind of show what they're made of, who they are, and we might try and invite them to MNR and for season 7. But if these guys, are causing issues or anything, they're not going to get an invite. I mean, let's be honest. I think that's what it's all about. That's what's important. And I think next season we really want to, try to get back to the core of MNR and how it all started, and get back to the fun element of it. And if it means shorter fields, it means shorter fields. But I think the biggest thing for us is just try to make sure to try to keep it fun for everybody and keep it refreshing and more racing and less Ford Martin getting put in the wall. So that'll help a lot.
And I'm going to bring that. Chicagoland was the last race, one of the last races in last season's Monday Night Racing. That was a truck race. But talk about a little bit of the attrition of the tires that were really falling off. And I think you were involved with a couple other incidents. Wasn't it Joshua Slate that you got in the back end as well, too, or off of turn 4?
I love Slate. I mean, he's a good dude. He's a hard worker over at Nice Motorsports. I'm really proud of him, all the work he's doing over there. I was not proud of me wrecking him, but he got on the apron, he got loose. I had nowhere to go. I mean, I'm off the throttle. I'm barely just hitting the brakes, or I'm going to get run over too. And it's like, look, I'm sorry, dude. I have nowhere to go. So
is that just
Josh,
somewhere?
Yeah.
Yeah, is that somewhere you can't really, it's just a racing ordeal, or you can't really prepare, can you prepare for that type of stuff where someone gets off, that speed?
Yeah, I think obviously, when you run and when you're 15 laps to go, 20 laps to go or something. Everyone's running hard. I mean, I just got brand new tires, and a lot of people up front stayed out. So you're trying to get every position you can as possible. So they're running 3-4 wide up there in front of me. I mean, I got all cars packed behind me like it's a super speedway race at Talladega. So I had nowhere to go, and I got all the way off the throttle. And Brandon Brown, who was on my radio channel with me, and he's like, "Man, there's nothing you could have done. I'm just glad you didn't hit the brakes because it really would have caused an even bigger wreck, and I would have gotten screwed and wrecked." So I apologize to him on the main channel, but it's unfortunate. But he had a good race going, and I hate to be a part of that and hate to wreck him. But it's unfortunate. But overall, I think he's gotten me a couple times. I think maybe over the past 1 through 6 seasons of MNR. So maybe I owed him one. I don't know.
Well, it's good to hear from your halfway perspective about how the league's going forward. It was a pleasure to have you on the Front Stretch post-race show.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks so much. All the guys, all you guys at Front Stretch, Kenneth Wayne, all the announcers, everything, Ryan Bauer behind the scenes, Cameron, everyone does a great job for Podium. They do awesome work and makes our broadcast look super professional. You guys do a great job. So go to Mach10digital.com. Check us out if you're looking for any weddings or real estate videography or podcasts, commercials, anything like that. Hit us up. And love to have you guys part of it. So thanks guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ford.
Thanks, man.
And that will do it here from the FrontStretch.com post-race show for the Monday Night Racing League. As always, you can join us next week when the Monday Night Racing cars take on the Talladega Super Speedway next Monday night. Be here on the Front Stretch YouTube page or as well as the Podium Esports stream as well. Jared Haas here with Trey Lyle. Until then, have a great race weekend, and thank you.